All righty. I hope you guys can hear me clearly tonight. We have a few subjects to cover before we start up. And like I said, and I promised you guys, anyone who's here who uses a Mac computer to print your photos and you're having problems with a color cast just popping out of nowhere, say when you update it between whatever Mojave and now Catalina, I believe, is the latest, and all of a sudden something went awry. We have Jeff Thompson here tonight with us. He is a member of my Facebook group and a faithful watcher and viewer. So in a few minutes, I'm going to ask him to get my link, and we'll have him on board. And he'll be here live to answer any questions you guys may have. I also have a bunch of other subjects to cover. So we're going to go ahead and wait a little while and wait till we have enough people here so that make it worthwhile. And again, I am hoping that everybody read my comment on my Facebook group where I actually told everyone about tonight's opportunity. And next week, as far as I know, we're going to have Mike Cheney and Andrew, I'm sorry, I don't know his last name, from Bin Artem Media. Basically, he is the creator of QImage 1, which is what Mac users were screaming about, before a couple of years ago, because QImage Ultimate was only available for the Windows operating system. And all of those features that it offers, it wasn't available for Mac users. So I believe he's here tonight, but I don't know whether he's ready to come on camera with us. But anyway, let's go ahead and say howdy to everybody first before we jump into actually discussing tonight's subjects. As far as we are concerned, our family, we are doing fine. We are bored as can be, of course, like most people are. But, fortunately for us, and I was discussing this with some people, um, people that lost their jobs because of this pandemic. In other words, they were furloughed without pay and all of that. I really, really feel bad about those folks. My son is home. My son-in-law is home. They work for a very high-end security firm here in Maryland, and they're home working via computer through the internet, serving their clients that way. But even them, they got cut back in pay so that the company could then have the funds to pay those who were furloughed. Yeah, lucky for us. Yeah, and this is something really odd because most of the time it's really not an advantage. Most of the time, lucky for us, we are retired, and so we are on fixed income. It comes regardless, so we're doing okay. Still haven't found a store with toilet paper. Funny, yeah, but everything else is fine. So hopefully everybody can see me clearly. Hello, everyone. We're going to go ahead and scroll all the way up to the chat and see who's here with us. Sandeep and Michael McLean in Xbox 199 is here. How you doing? Sandeep says, I have a question. Let me go ahead and post that question so that you guys can see it. Do the Canon Pro 100 cartridges dry up? They dry up in what way? If you leave them outside of the printer, that would be the only way. They are basically, once you mount them on the, hang on a second. Once you mount them on the print head, they are sealed. See those ports right here? The bottom of the cartridge. Let me see if there's one I can open without spilling ink everywhere. The bottom of the cartridge, that circular port, seals against that matching circular port. And so as long as the printer is parked, printhead is parked over the purge pad, it is sealed. It's not going to dry up. I don't know what you mean by that. I assume that's what you mean. But if you were to take them out and store them without one of these clips, then sure, they would dry up in a matter of days, but not on the printer, not on the printer. If you're talking about your printer clogging from not printing, sure, that will happen, of course. You're lucky that the Pro 100 will perform automatic cleaning cycles on you. Yeah, it is there to help those who neglect the printers, including myself. So I'm thankful for that, actually. And since I am refilling, I really am not that concerned about the use of ink. Otherwise, I do hate it. Although I should say I do hate it. I don't have a full command of my English language today. I hate the fact that it uses ink rather than some other sort of fluid, if you will. I wish it did, but unfortunately, the only fluid that it uses to clean and to keep itself at a relatively cool, if you will, working or operating temperature is the use of ink. That's all it can use until they come up with something totally different and new. I don't think they will ever do that. I don't think they really care about saving our expensive ink in that manner. That's just my opinion. All righty. Crypto Time Lord is here. And I say to that, good Lord, what a name. English, all from the UK. It's about 2,100 hours still on lockdown. We are safe. People here are just basically either obeying it or just totally disobeying it. The governor did pass a sort of lockdown quarantine type law, I guess, or command, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, I go on the road to go to my physical therapy, for instance, twice a week. And there's all kinds of people on the road. Home Depot is open. People are shopping, So I don't know. I went to the post office, had my windows rolled up. All I was going to do was drive up to the mailbox, drop my window down, and stick my mail in there. And as I passed through the road leading to the post office, there is a Saturday farmers market. It was packed with people. So some wearing masks, some wearing God knows what. Really, they just really don't know how to protect themselves. So all I can say is that, hey, I'm staying home. You guys do whatever you wish. I know I'm going to be safe. Yesterday, we went to Nathan's house, my daughter-in-law's, my son-in-law's house, my daughter's house, and had dinner. Our son made dinner for us. We stayed at a relatively, respectable distance from each other, and we ate a delicious dinner. I played with Nathan, no hugging, no kissing, and we had a great time. He showed everything that he has been doing for the last 3 weeks. They're connected to the internet for their schooling, and so they are taking it pretty seriously, and I think they're going to be okay. Anyway, all right, next person. We have Jeff Thompson here waiting here on the system here from Louisiana. I'm going to put you on in a second. Let me go ahead and post the link for you. There it is, Jeff. And anyone else who can help provide, I want no BS, okay? I want real information as to what people may be doing wrong printing on a Mac system. And let me clarify, I'm on Windows 10 since God knows when. I'm using drivers that are ancient by comparison. And as Windows 10 keeps updating automatically, there's never a problem between a given driver and a update. So I don't understand why there's this incompatibility between a driver, Mac driver for a given printer, and maybe some other, you know what I mean. And so I don't get that. But we're going to discuss that in a bit. I got you already here, Jeff. I'll cue you in a second here. Let me go ahead and finish. And I believe this might be Andrew. Is that you, Binartem Media? You're QMH1 guy, right? Are you ready to come on board tonight, or do you want to wait till next week? Because I think that's what Mike and I arrange. But you're always welcome to come on if you wish. Richard is here, and he's from LA. He's got a Pro 10 and Pro 1000. Listen, I wanted you to clarify to me whether I think in our conversation on the phone that we had, you stated that you purchased a set of those chips, remember? Have you had any luck receiving them yet? Please let us know right here and now. And you're the guy that I can go to, because the minute that your Chrome optimizer runs out and you need to remove that cartridge from the Pro 1000 and see if those new chips reset or not. If they reset, then I am on it. I will tell Precision Colors that we have a proven, at least one person with chips that actually work. And I don't know what China has been doing for that. I think this might be a breakthrough if indeed it is true. So let me know, Richard. We have Steven Norotowski here. Nawotarski. I butcher names, so don't get too upset with me. All right, so Sandeep says we have a crowd waiting. Jose's in the house. Well, it's not just me. We have Jeff in the house as well. And in a second, we're going to have him on there. Great to hear from a Mac OS guy. Right. I'm not the guy. That's why I had him come on. He always corrects me when I state something on Facebook or on my video channel. And so he's the man to go to. And again, if that was Andrew, okay, he wrote the program for Mac. So maybe he will be willing to come on board today if he has the camera and mic setup ready. All you got to do is capture that link that I posted and then click on it and go through the steps to come on board here. All righty, let's see. Martin G.J. Smith from Lyondella, Wales. Wow, a Welshman. All righty. Okay, so everybody's hearing me loud and clear. That's awesome. Cosmic Owens. I almost said dance. Hi, Jose. Nice to meet you. Even though the image is frozen. What do you mean the image is frozen? Is everybody having a frozen image? I don't think so. Is it? Let me know real quick. Andrew Wilford is here. All right. So he's our man for Q Image Ultimate. Jeff Thompson. Andrew. He's here as Benarton Media. Yes. All righty. So let's go ahead and continue real quick. Let me know. Anyone is having a frozen problem? I don't think so. I could look on the actual YouTube if you want me to, but I don't think we are frozen. Just let me know if anyone's having any kind of problems like that. Let me continue real quickly through here. Michael McLean says, so for Jeff, where are we for printing with Catalina? Hold on to that thought. We're going to hit you in a second. Let me see if there's anything completely new down here, and we can go ahead and cover that. Those who are watching on YouTube can see the chat and follow it. And people are saying that I am okay. All right. So I don't have to worry about that. Let's go ahead and have Jeff come on board. Hello, Jeff.
Hey there, Jose.
The man right there. All righty. So glad that you were able to come on board tonight with us. And if you can, what I suggest, so that there's no audio weird echo, and there's actually a delay when you see it live. When you, Jeff, are watching it live on StreamYard, there's about a 5-second delay or even more in YouTube. So if you want to open up a YouTube browser and look at that, go ahead and mute the sound. Otherwise, it's going to drive you nuts. And that way you can actually see the chat, and you can maybe see the chat before these old eyes see it, and able to hit any of the questions that people may be asking. So okay. let me begin by saying that I know that you were following a thread on my Facebook group. It had to do with a person that finally solved the problem magically, right?
Right.
He reinstalled. Is that what he did? He deleted the previous Catalina. But let's go back and talk about what could be causing the problem that he was having. Basically, folks, he was having like unannounced color shifts, dark prints when they were okay prior, and all sorts of color management problems. Okay.
Right.
Go ahead.
So thank you, Jose. Most people that run into printing problems on Mac seem to all be related to some type of driver issue. As you know, Canon was kind of slow to come out with usable working drivers for Catalina. So the first people that upgraded to Catalina without new drivers from Canon, immediately ran into problems, right?
Let me interrupt you one time here.
Sure.
I know you just said the new drivers. So why the heck, and this is why it's driving me nuts, this should not happen for Mac. You should be able to use, like I have a 1400. It's ancient. It's like 10 years old. They haven't updated that driver for like 7 years ago. And I have the same driver, and yet I have no problems. Why those windows don't create any problems with an ancient driver still installed in your printer, on your drive, on your computer, and I'm having it auto update all at once. Whenever it auto updates at midnight, I'm in bed. I wake up in the morning and it tells me that it auto updated, and the driver is still producing neutral prints.
Right.
What's going on?
And that's the case sometimes for Mac OS as well. The upgrades are transparent, but for Catalina, Catalina was fundamentally a significant architecture change for Mac OS. It essentially eliminated all support for 32-bit programs.
Okay.
So if there was a driver or any software that was still using 32-bit, which in today's day and age seems kind of unimaginable, but there's quite a bit of software still out there that was still 32-bit. Mm-hmm. So that's really what kind of forced the big change for Catalina, was no more 32-bit support. Epson had working drivers the day Catalina announced and launched. Canon did not. So people that upgraded right away, immediately ran into problems. Even the first version of the Canon drivers that were produced that were supposedly Catalina compatible still had issues. And I believe they now have working drivers. I only have a Pro 10 from Canon. I don't have the Pro 1000 I have a Pro 100. So I don't have the Pro 10, Pro 1, or the Pro 1000. But I believe I've seen other people successfully printing with the most recent drivers on those printers as well. Mm-hmm. And what I was planning on doing, if it's okay with you, I'd like to share my screen and I'll go through Canon's website and kind of go through the driver history here and kind of show you that difference.
I haven't figured out how to do that yet. How do I have a guest share a screen? So
I think I can do it here. Let me see if this works.
I'm just barely beginning to use this because OBS was just driving me absolutely nuts.
Okay.
So I switched over.
So you're not able to see my screen here?
No, I cannot see it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. I shared it on my end. Not sure why you can't see it, but so anyway, I'll just go to the page and I'll kind of talk through what I'm doing here if people want to follow along. So, first thing I did was Google Canon Pro 100 drivers, and, that took me to Canon's support page for the Pro 100. I clicked on the drivers and downloads, and then once you select the download, you can see the version history in the drivers. The current working version of Catalina driver for Pro 100 is 16.40.1.0. And the first version that supported Catalina was 16.40.00. So there's been one revision since they provided Catalina support. So that's what you need to be working today on Catalina. The user that had the post this week that was having all sorts of color issues, color shifts as far as 050, that as best I can tell was way back at OS X El Capitan compatibility level, which was 10.11, and we're now on 10.15. So that was a very old driver he was using, and by upgrading to the most recent driver, that he says that resolved all his problems. So that's kind of the first thing people need to do when they're looking at this. Now, that said, I know a lot of people are reluctant to upgrade drivers because they're afraid it's going to, lock out refilling capabilities. I do use precision colors on my Pro 100, so I do refill there, but I don't let that limit me. I upgrade the drivers whenever there's new drivers available, and so far that's not been a problem for the Pro 100. Again, I can't speak to the Pro 1000, but at least for the Pro 100, if you're going to upgrade your operating system, you need to make sure you have compatible drivers with that operating system.
You haven't had any problems with, you mentioned your refill?
I do
Pro
with
100.
my Pro 100. Yeah.
So you haven't had any problems with recognition of the chips? Okay, that's good to hear.
Yeah, the Pro 100 is great.
I think Canon is not being as bad as Epson is with the lockdown of certain printers against the use of other products. I'm terrified to update my firmware on my Pro 1000 at this point. So I hate to say it, but I'm waiting for some other guinea pig to do it who happens to be refilling. Those who have done it state that it's great, but they don't refill. They're still using original, cartridge, the expensive ones.
Right. Yeah, I'm really sorry I can't share my screen because I wanted to show people the driver printer to scanner section of the Mac OS system and add a new printer driver and show where I think a lot of people go wrong and get the AirPrint and driver installed. I can talk through that, but it's going to be a little ugly without being able to show the screen.
So how would that occur accidentally?
So
you're gonna have to educate me as well, because from what I hear from people, it'll be like Aunt Millie, who is a crafter, has a MacBook Pro and she got a Pro 100 for Christmas, and she wants to print her 12 by 12 pages for her scrapbooking. You know, she wants to print, and she plugs the printer into the MacBook Pro and lets the magic take place, and ends up with a driver that's not the Canon driver.
Right. And if you let the magic take place, you're going to wind up with a driver that's not going to be what you want for color management.
Yeah.
You're guaranteed to get bad color prints using the AirPrint driver. The AirPrint driver was meant to be a somewhat limited driver, but allowing things like tablets and phones and things that didn't have to go and install drivers to just print over the air. Right. So it's a limited functionality driver, and if you get it installed instead of the actual driver from Canon, you won't even have color management options. So you can't go specify, turn color management off or anything else.
But you got to realize that the folks who do that, I call it accidentally, but it's really because they have no clue. They don't know what the heck color management is anyway. So they're perfectly satisfied that, oh man, Apple just connected my printer automatically. Boom, done. I'm ready.
Yeah. And hey, I've accidentally installed the AirPrint driver before too, right? If you're not paying attention, it's easy to do. But
I remember
what I recommend.
I worked when I got out of the Army in '89. I was already working with, I worked for the Armed Forces Institute of Pathology, which is a part of Walter Reed Army Medical Center. The old Walter Reed closed down in 2012. But anyway, AFIP, basically, it was a pathology institute. So I work in infectious and parasitic diseases and also virology department. We did a lot of DNA sequencing. Everything software-wise was only available for Mac OS. So our whole lab was Mac. So the government said, no, we're going to switch over to Windows, and everybody's personal computer in their office cubicle became a Windows machine. So I remember very well plugging in my Epson, what was it? Stylus Photo 11 something. It was a 13-inch wide. It used two cartridges. One was a 5-color cartridge and then a black cartridge. And all you did was plug it in, because what's color management? We were printing images from a PDF. We were printing images from a oh shoot, now I forget what it's called. But anyway, totally non-color managed. So we didn't know any better that we needed the actual driver for that Stylus Photo 11, 1180 printer. Nobody told us that. Nobody, even the photo department in our building didn't know that. They would just open and print, and it was relatively fine. It was good enough. There was no need to install a specific driver, So I get it.
So when you're installing a printer driver or installing a printer on Mac OS, what you need to do is go into your system preferences, printers and scanners, and in the bottom left there's a little plus sign. You click on the plus, then it'll bring up a list of printers to add to your system. When you click on that Canon printer that supports AirPrint, the default driver that's going to come up and be listed is called AirPrint, right? You got to wait a second or two for it to populate the list of driver choices. Click the drop down for the list and choose the Canon Pro 100 series driver. Once you do that and finish adding the printer, you're actually using the Canon printer driver, not the AirPrint.
Where does the operating system acquire that driver?
It's just built into Mac OS, so it's not anything you install separately, right? It's just part of the operating system.
So that, boy, how big a file is it? The operating system file.
Yeah, I don't even know where it's located, to be honest.
Yeah. So what happens? Do they automatically keep tabs of all updates by all printer companies? Brother, Lexmark, HP.
You know,
You would have
that's
to have a
another.
database or physically house the driver files, the installation files in your OS, in your computer.
Well,
Or is it
I think what
acquiring?
happens, I think what happens at a technical level, what happens is the computer sends queries out on a network asking for what
Okay.
services are out there, and things that are AirPrint compatible come back and reply, hey, I support AirPrint. And I think
Mhm.
that's really what, so it's not really a database they're keeping track of, but it's an active query on your network,
Yeah.
and AirPrint compatible devices will respond. And that's when AirPrint shows up as an
Yeah.
option.
So here's what we need. We need a kind of a list of steps, a
Okay.
bullet list of what people need to do when they get their brand new printer from UPS and they're using Mac OS,
Okay.
how to install it. And I tell you, I will put that as a announcement on the top of my group. It'll stay there
Right.
constantly for people to see, because
Yep.
they need to see that. They need to see that. I mean, you got to realize that, and I don't say this to start a war between OSs. Who cares?
Right.
But everybody that's having this weird, I mean, I've never heard of some of these things. I go, oh dear Lord, please, please don't say, oh God, yes, he is using, and he mentioned some OS, one of the famous California sites. You know, they name it
Right.
after all of that. And I go like, why? Why the hell? I know Windows people are always having problems too, but those I immediately recognize and I immediately can fix for them. But I just don't get it. Why is there so many? Is it because Mac users traditionally are so used to just being taken care of, and they just
Yeah.
realize that they have to do some things in a specific manner when they enter this really weird world of color management and photo printing?
Yeah. I think there's, some of that stereotype stuff that is actually true, right? Artistic people have
Yeah,
generally used
the
Macs more
Apple
than,
environment. Once
right.
you enter,
Exactly.
you'll never leave it. You know,
Yeah.
that's
So I think that definitely applies. And, people are used to the Mac just kind of doing everything for you, which, is a blessing and a curse, right?
yeah,
Sometimes it does exactly what you want and it's great. And sometimes it's doing something you don't realize and, causes problems. But the best thing to do, and you preach this as well, is regardless of Windows or Mac, you need a printing workflow, right? And you need to stick to that workflow start to finish every time you're going to print. And that's how you get consistent, repeatable, good results. If you're not going through the same process and the same steps every time, you're going to wind up with, oh, I forgot I checked that driver setting last time I printed, and now it's causing some weirdness, right? And
yeah,
we've seen that in the forums. People can't get paid, something as basic as paper size is correct because they've ticked some option in the driver that says, I'm using 8.5 by 11, but over in their application, they're trying to use some different size, right? So if you establish that workflow and follow it every time, that's how you're going to get consistent results.
yeah. I like. I have 13 printers, so
Right.
13 versus most people have one. I got to
Right.
keep tabs. I got to keep the settings across the board so that whenever I choose to print something in whatever printer, I know how it's going to come out. I know how it's going to come out. There's no guesswork. There's no mystery. I'll go upstairs and have some coffee, come back down. There's my print, and it's really
Right.
boring. I mean, you see what I'm saying? It's so boring that I can just tell it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And oh, Jose, you must be a genius. No, hell no, I'm not a genius. I just have everything down pat,
Right.
and I use Q Image, and I don't care if Andrew's here, Mike's not here, but I use Q Image simply because of this. I can save every single print job, and whatever settings produce a perfect print, I can save that as a job. I give it a name. I say this is Jeff Thompson's, weekend shoot,
Right.
and it saves the layout. It saves the if I want to do multiple images on a sheet of paper, it saves all of that. The printer, the settings, the color management, the profile that I use, and I just come back next week. Jeff calls me, hey, can you reprint me another set of those prints, those images? I said, sure. Click,
Right.
click. That's it. The
Yep.
job is recalled. I just hit print. If my printer is turned on, and I have paper in it, it will produce the same exact results that I got a week ago. And I don't remember crap from day to day. So I need
Right.
something like that to help me out. And so in that case, automation is fantastic. I still don't trust it. I still double check it. The same thing with their automated, recently updated, like months ago, color management. It does
Right.
what Mac does. If I
Hmm.
tell Q Image to print through whatever ICC profile, it actually sets my driver to no color management. It gives you
Right.
a little flash. It says, hey, dummy, you forget to turn off color management in your Epson printer or your Canon printer. Boom, it does it. If I then tell it to let the driver control color, if I'm testing any kind of ink, I'm going to show you an example in a minute here. And I just want to see if the driver by itself, just choosing the right paper, can produce a good result. I let the driver control color. I immediately get a little message that says, hey, dummy, you had it set to no color management. Now we're going to set it to driver matching or ICM for your
Right.
Canon, or again, ICM also for the Epson printer. I just printed this the other day. And the reason I was doing this is just a print of an old barn with a bike in front of it.
Hmm.
It is freaking beautiful when you look at it in person. This is
Right.
Red River Palo Duro Burrita, 300 gram weight. It's freaking gorgeous. How did I do that? Believe it or not, I used an ICC profile that I created. This was printed with OEM ink, by the way. I created a profile for a customer that printed it using Precision Color Signature Edition for the Pro 10. So that's, call it fake inks and real inks. So I created the profile for the fake inks, and then I printed it using that same profile on my Pro 10 using OEM inks. The color is indistinguishable between the monitor and the resulting print. The only difference I found, and this is really interesting, and I just did a video covering that. See these areas up here?
Hmm.
They're kind of blocked up.
Right.
On the screen, you can see, detail in those deep shadows.
Right.
Of course, that's backlit versus front lit. That
Sure.
could be the reason, or the reason is that third-party black inks are just not as dense as OEM. And so the profile that I made then compensated for that and created a print when I printed it on OEM that blocked the shadows up. It didn't know any better. It thought I was printing with Precision Colors, Signature Edition inks. The color is a perfect match. I could not believe it. I said, oh, this is not going to match. It cannot possibly match. It did. So that's how good those things are. And you're using
You
the Pro,
know,
you said, right?
yeah, Pro 100.
Oh, Pro 100.
Yeah.
Same thing with that. The
Yeah.
same thing. I
Yeah.
mean, I said, Mike, you're full of crap. Okay, you're working for 9 months, busting your balls every night until like 11 from morning to night, making all these tests and getting back to the lab, back and forth, tweak it this way, tweak it that way. For what? Your original inks were good enough. Oh no, he's not satisfied with that. He wants people to have a perfect transition, seamless. You can go either
Yeah.
cartridge by cartridge or the whole shebang at one time and
Right.
not see any change from the set of OEMs you had there and the set of refilled cartridges now you're putting in there. Again, he did it. He hit it out of the ballpark, quote
Right.
unquote.
Yeah. The
Anyway,
Precision Colors color match is very good. Right.
but there are
Longevity is not quite as good.
really weird things going on with that Canon original Pro 100 ink. Those grays are unreproducible by any third party company. And you say, oh, grays, big deal.
Right.
Here's what happens. The grays on the Pro 100 OEM will actually react. Let's just say the third party grays will react a weird way. Whereas if you print, say, for instance, on that Palo Duro Burrito, and you print a black and white, in other words, monochrome image, it will change colors, shades slightly, depending on the light temperature, the
Right.
viewing temperature. Whereas the OEM grays do not have that. You know what he calls them? Chameleon inks.
Okay.
because they're able to adapt to the light and always give you a neutral result, regardless of what kind of paper you print them on.
Right.
And he can't do that with his third-party inkset. The Precision Color Signature Edition will have a slight change in color balance depending on the light. So his grays are not the chameleon grays, and he has not been able to figure out what the hell Canon did.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty amazing the
It is.
technology that goes into inks in the first place, right? You know, and the fact that you pointed out many times, right? Blue ink is not blue. You know, black ink is not black. Really, it's
Yeah.
it's up to the driver and the print engine to mix those colors together to come up with all the colors you see on the printed paper.
I did a little drip test on a clear glass of water, using OEM and third party. And yeah, OEM black is just a deep purple. It's just as purple as can be. And
Right.
people think that, oh, when I choose, and this is something I was going to talk about tonight, when I choose advanced black and white on an Epson printer or black and white mode on your Canon Pro 100, oh, it's only going to use black and the two grays. You would get a purple print if it only used black and the two grays.
Right.
It needs to actually composite yellow ink in there to
Yep.
counteract that blue, which is the real color of that ink. Blue is actually purple. Okay. Cyan from the sky, that's not blue, that's cyan. So purple optically is blue. It's what we call blue. So it needs yellow to neutralize it. And why am I using yellow? And why am I using some magenta? I was only printing in black and white mode. It's compositing colors for you so that you get a nice neutral, equally neutral or linearly neutral result. Otherwise, you wouldn't.
That's right. Hey, Jose, I see a few QImage related questions in the chat. So,
all right.
There's two versions of QImage. One is QImage Ultimate, which is Windows only. Been around a long time, has tons and tons and tons of features, including editing raw file capability. And then there's QImage One, which is I've heard people say a dumbed down version of QImage.
Jeff, sorry, can you tell me who asked that?
Well, let's see. We have questions from Michael McLean about QImage, Roger Jones. Someone else asked. I'm just scrolling through the chat on the right here that I see in StreamYard, Jose.
Yeah, because I want to pop the question up on the screen. Michael McLean? No. Who was it? Pretty far down or early on?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to find it here.
Yeah, because I can go ahead and pop the question.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it. Sorry. but anyway, what I was going to say is QImage One. I've heard people described as a dumbed down version of QImage Ultimate, but I don't think that's fair, right? They have two different purposes. QImage One focuses only on printing capabilities. And actually, I like that because I have my editing programs I use and I'm not looking for a new editor, right? And I use Lightroom for image management. It keeps track of over 50,000 images I have in my catalog, and I can't live without that type of capability. So the fact that QImage One focuses just on print functionality, I think, is a plus, to be honest. And I use it. I really love the product. I know Andrew and Mike will be on next week to talk in more details about those, so I won't really spend much time on that. But I am a big fan of QImage One. Do all my printing on Mac using QImage One nowadays.
Yeah, I went ahead and reinstalled QImage One. I had not had it since I had to do I had a problem with my actual processor chip had come loose. And I took it to the repair place and they popped it back in because I wasn't about to deal with it. I got one of these water-cooled computers and I wasn't about to dig into that computer. So I had them do it and I never reinstalled it. I just did it recently. And yeah, it's just simple. Like you said, it's just the basics that you need. But they keep adding features from Ultimate. And I don't know whether they're going to get into the editing side of Ultimate. And I don't think they need to at this point because I'm constantly exporting out of Lightroom into QImage or out of Photoshop right into QImage and printing from there. I don't use Adobe products to print with anymore.
Right.
Don't. Yeah. So.
And I have an Epson P800 with a roll adapter, and I do a lot of roll printing. And you just can't beat QImage 1 for page layout and roll printing capabilities. They added a feature a few updates back that will automatically determine the roll length that you're printing to. So rather than you having to create a custom page side for every set of prints you want to do on a roll adapter, just keep adding prints to the layout, and then you can click on the little button that says automatically determine page length, and QImage 1 will automatically do that for you. So super convenient, takes no time at all to lay out prints on a roll.
How do you like this question? Why? Just because they exist. No, I need to have them so that I can answer questions. Otherwise, how can I answer a question about a printer if I don't have it?
I just have 3, but I've used you as an excuse.
And I can ask you questions about your 3 printers.
Exactly.
But if I ask you about the P5000, can you tell me anything about it?
That's right.
You don't have one. So let's see what else we got here.
I see someone else said they're bored and they wanted to go on to something else. So
yeah, I think next week what we're going to be asking the QImage folks is about features related to printing only and not necessarily anything to, I mean, there's a lot of layout capabilities that QImage gives you. You may like Lightroom better, lay it out in Lightroom. You may like to lay it out in Photoshop and then export that out to be printed on QImage. And only because you can then save that. Whatever you did, you can, regardless where you did it, whether it was, Photoshop Elements or Photoshop or QImage or Lightroom, you can export it to QImage, save it, and then you can always access that later.
Right.
Sometimes I don't print that night. I will prepare lots of things and save them, and then come back and print later.
There's one other thing I wanted to bring up. I know I hear people are told your images or your print should match your screen, right?
Right.
And I've seen people take that literally. They'll get something off their printer and they'll go hold the print up next to their screen. And one poster, this is a while back, his room was so dimly lit, which I work in a dark room as well. I have an overhead light on today just for the video, but ordinarily the room would even be much darker than it is now. And, you couldn't even see the desk surface below his monitor. It was so dark in his room. And it's like the expectation that print is going to match the monitor in those dim conditions is ridiculous, right? Mm-hmm. When people say your prints match your monitor, your prints viewed in good lighting match what you see on your monitor, right? Right. But it's literally not a comparison of holding the print up next to the monitor. But unfortunately, I've seen people actually do that and expect them to match 100%.
The really true professionals that I have seen have hoods on their monitors.
Right.
Then they have a separate area to light the print that they created. And then they make a visual comparison with what the protected monitor screen, so that you don't have ambient light hitting it and possibly shifting the color balance or the white point of your monitor. And I only shoot for as good a density match as I can get, but more importantly, I need to have a perfect white balance match. In other words, if I look at if I create a gray patch in Photoshop and I look at it and then I print that and I know that one is neutral and I put it and I see magenta over here, whereas my print is neutral, I need to recalibrate my white point. My white point is off. My monitor is too warm.
Right.
So I need to recalibrate it.
Emmanuel, there are some really good videos on QImage. I don't know if you're using Ultimate or QImage 1, but
I got both.
Okay, but Emmanuel's asking, he doesn't know how to use QImage. There's some really good video tutorials for QImage 1 that I've watched. I presume there's the same for Ultimate. I just don't use Ultimate.
It does have a unique user interface, okay?
Right.
Got to remember, QImage has been around, oh my God, what, 2 decades? When Photoshop may have been in its infancy, QImage was around. I remember seeing it. And At that point, all it was a layout tool, how to make, those packages that you see the kids bring home from school, a 5x7, two 4x5s, or a 4x5 and two wallet size. That's what it was made for at that time. And it was a printing tool. And they had their own user interface. It was unique to them. They weren't copying drop-down menus like Photoshop.
Right.
No, they had their own system. So if you're used to something else, it's going to be a learning curve how to navigate through QImage. But once you do, like I said, you just don't go back. I don't anything else. And I'm not saying that because they're watching me. No.
Right. Michael McLean, I calibrate my monitor to 80 CDM2 for my environment. Again, it's going to be unique for
same here,
based on how dim or how bright your editing room is.
Let me tell you a story. I had a friend that back in the day when I was machining, and I don't do a lot of machining anymore. I have a library of machining videos that I created, like instructional videos. They're more micro machining. It's for model makers and that type of thing. So I had a customer that bought one of my DVDs here, and I find out he works at this it's a video company that in that era, back in the 80s, not 80s, maybe 90s, was converting all of the UK shows, all that stuff for CBS, PBS UK, from their format to the American, format. And so he said, hey, come on down. I had a video camera that needed a new video head, a recording head. I said, I'll replace it for you for free. I said, okay, fine. I go over there. He takes me into his editing shop, this suite. And there's people working in such darkness that I can't even read a book.
Right.
And it was my first exposure to HD displays, flat screen displays. And I was blown away. I couldn't believe it. They were editing. They were doing all their work in a darkened room. It's like at the theater. You go to the movie theater, you see the previews with a half-lit theater, and they look blonde. Then all of a sudden they turn the lights down real low, and boom, you have brilliancy in that screen. That's what you get when you look at your monitor in a control environment that is, like you said, 80 CD M2. That's
I know a couple of years ago when I profiled my monitor, when I first saw the result, I was like, oh, that can't be right. It looks so bad, so yellow, so
exactly.
It just looked completely off the mark. But
you know why it looked yellow to you? Because
it took all the blue out. Yeah, it took all the blue out
of the box. It's just too blue.
Yeah. I read somewhere, I don't know if it's true or not, but most monitors are shipped with the settings such that they're good for watching movies and watching video and stuff like that. And picture edit or photo editing, of course, is totally different. So, but I will say, once you calibrate your monitor, you adjust to the changes very quickly, right?
Right.
So, I still look at my monitor today and think it's fine. If I switch back to the original profile for my display, it looks over the top, blue, and over the top bright at the same time. So it takes some adjustment, getting used to, for sure. But it's definitely important to make sure that you're editing your photos will result in printing.
Let me ask you something, since I have you here. Sure. What is your suggestion for people? Let me see what else this one was. I do nice images. All right, we'll look at that one later. Since a lot of people use MacBook Pro, a laptop, basically.
Yep.
Does the screen on those computers change depending on the angle of view? I remember old Windows, laptops. You had to have it perfectly aligned at the right angle. Otherwise, it's going to shift color and shift density.
Yeah, I don't think any reasonably current Mac laptop suffers from any issues like that. The screens are pretty good. I do not do a lot of editing on my laptop. I have a iMac 27-inch that I do most of my editing on. I'm kind of old school. I haven't gone to a second monitor yet. I know a lot of people use and swear by second monitors, so that's something I'll probably add in the future. But for right now, I'm just using the standard iMac screen that's been calibrated. I really don't do any stuff on my laptop unless it's kind of a last minute thing, and that's all I have with me at the time.
But there are a lot of people that's all they have. So
Yeah, sure.
they want to go ahead and buy a X-Rite Color Monkey, or if they can buy it used, or a i1 Pro.
Right.
The expensive one, this bad boy right here. They can get this, or they can get the Color Monkey and use it to calibrate your MacBook Pro. Is that really feasible? Does that really work? Because
it does. I do calibrate my laptops as well, even though I don't use them as primary workstations. I actually use an old Color Monkey. I don't even have the new i1 Studio, right? Or the i1 or i2 Pro. I have pretty basic equipment that I think does a fantastic job. I do use the X-Rite. I don't use the X-Rite software. I use Argyle 2 CMS for creating both my monitor profiles and display profiles. The display is done with DisplayCal, which uses Argyle as a kind of a back end, but it gives you really fine-grained control over your profiles, and I've had good results with that.
Do you have to know command code to be able to do that?
You got to go with the command line. It's kind of a nerd thing for sure.
I don't know anything about that. Now that you mentioned that, Precision Colors makes all their profiles using that system.
Right.
So they use an i1 Pro 1, I believe, and then use Argyle.
Yeah, that's probably the best combination, because the i2 Pros, I think there's maybe the i3 Pro out now, but the best hardware calibrator available, except for extremely expensive commercial devices, combined with Argyle, it's probably a pretty good combination.
Yeah, I got a job that I just finished here. In fact, this set of charts right here is the same ones that produce the profile that I used to print this one on. So I'm using 1600 patches, and I'm doing a double scanning. So basically the reader, the sensor reads 200 readings per second.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how many flashes is actually, you don't see it, you just know it. It's, your eye cannot detect that, but 200 readings per second, because you may have a paper with a slight texture. Say, for instance, I also did a canvas for them, and that canvas just has hills and valleys, and it tends to reflect light. I don't know whether the beam that comes out of that reader is a straight or a diffused light path. If it's diffused, then maybe it can actually take care of any angle changes, because microscopically that paper is nothing but hills. That's media. That canvas is nothing but hills and valleys. And some readers, some spectrophotometers will just throw their hands up in the air and say, I can't read this, and report you an error. This one did it, and I don't know whether the profile is good yet. The person has not gotten back to me. It worked for me beautifully. But anyway, the reason for going on a double scan, in other words, I'm scanning not 1600, but 3200 patches, because I double scan them, is to reduce any instance of inaccuracy. So it will take so many scans, and then it averages those, so many pictures, if you will, or detections of that color patch, and then it averages them all out, and that's the one that it uses to say, hey, this value should have been this, but your printer produced that. Oh, that's my computer up in the air. I didn't mean to do that. But anyway, I'm flipping the bird at X-Rite. So, then it determines, okay, there's a difference between those two. It should have been this, but you got this. So I will give you a correction for that one single patch, how to make it print this way.
Right.
To a certain extent, because of course you're dealing with it, something viewed on a monitor. So after the 1600 patches are scanned, it produces that magic profile for you. Yeah. And then it has to there's some 1600 colors is not enough. It has to then interpolate even
Yeah.
more, to be able to give you 1600. 8-bit is 60,500 something thousand shades of color.
Right.
So it has to do a lot of magic.
Yep. Yeah, I see Agent X asking about disc printing. I have printed some disc on my Pro 100. I don't do a lot of disc printing. And when I do disc print, I just let the printer driver manage color because
Yeah, that's the point.
it would be impossible to print color charts on the disc themselves, scan them, all that. I will say if you haven't done a lot of disc printing, there's two different types of surface you can print on. The first is a matte surface, and your prints will look very dull on that matte surface. They have a shinier, glossy printed white surface you can print on, and if you're looking for something that is more picture quality, then go with the shiny, printable surface as opposed to the matte.
Isn't that called water shield?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've seen it listed a couple different things.
Yeah, Taiyo Yuden. It was a Japanese. Company. I think they were bought out by one of the other big DVD companies.
The original printable disc I bought with a matte variant, and I don't want to say the prints look bad, but they're definitely not as glossy as I would like. But if you really need that level of quality on your disc, then buy the shiny printable surfaces.
These are my machining discs,
right?
Micro machining discs.
Yep.
These are all done on matte surface.
Right. Okay.
Crappy that looks, but you're not going to be putting it in a gallery. Okay, this is just to be played.
And Agent X, you have Andrew Wilford here today from QImage One. Maybe he can answer your question about printing disc using QImage One. My guess is it's going to be possible because it's just like any other printing application, you pick the media type, which in this case would be a printable disc, and you'd have to go from there. But if the printable disc media is listed in the driver, you should be able to print to it from QImage One. But I'll let Andrew answer that through the chat, I believe.
I think it won't be a problem. You still have to go through the driver.
Yeah. QImage One, a lot of people mistakenly think QImage is a RIP, right? And it's not. It does some processing of the image, but it still uses the printer driver to deliver the print to the printer.
I'm waiting for one of the RIP companies out there. There's one that makes a RIP that is compatible with the Pro 1000.
Yeah.
And it's several $100s. I contacted them and kind of hinted, if they would donate a copy and I would make a bunch of videos and then publicize it. I never heard from them. They basically wrote me back, just kind of spouting off how wonderful their RIP software was, and you could acquire it here.
I've actually played with quad tone RIP, which is the RIP that is recommended by John Cohn for the physiography printing. And, honestly, I printed using a custom ICC profile. I printed using advanced black and white mode in the driver, and I printed using the quad tone RIP with all the different profiles and stuff you can get from Cohn's website.
They give you what they call a curve.
Yeah, the color curve, right.
It'll be custom to that printer and paper using inks.
And honestly, I didn't.
I tried it. On my older Epson printers. It works beautifully, but
it does.
You're stuck to one tone of inks.
Yeah.
Whereas with advanced black and white, you can actually change the tonality slightly.
Right. But with the 3 tests I did, a custom ICC, the advanced black and white mode, and the quad tone RIP, I actually prefer the advanced black and white mode the best personally. So for those of you that print black and white, I would suggest try using an ICC profile and try using the advanced black and white mode of your printer driver and see which one you like best. You might just be surprised.
I just did a video on that.
Yep.
I didn't get into the details. I just kind of made it, it was more tailored to which is better, printing RGB converted file or printing a converted file through advanced black and white or so-called black and white mode in your Canon printer.
Right.
I said, do it either way, and then look at the prints and you say, oh, I like this one better than this one. You're the only judge. Nobody's going to take a spectrophotometer and start measuring color. No, to see, which one produced more tones of gray. No, it's whatever looks better to you. Whatever Jeff likes more, that's the perfect choice. Whatever
Right.
Jose likes more, that's the perfect choice. So,
And Agent X, I see Andrews responded that yes, it should be able to print disk through a QMH1 because it uses a driver. So, if you give that a shot, let us know if it works or not. But looks like it should be possible.
let's see. Oh, this guy, this guy's recent follower, and also always posts a lot of stuff on the Facebook group, Casa de Cristo, House of Christ, basically. And let's see, driver part. Jeff said anything about. Yeah. So he's been contributing to that fiasco that the gentleman was having.
Yeah.
So
what I'd like to do, Jose, if we could spend some time outside of this chat, I'd like to see if we can figure out how to get the screen sharing working, because that would be really valuable to go through the actual adding a driver and all
this week I will set this up. I'll send you the link, and we don't go live. We can actually see each other.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Okay.
There's a way, because my friend who runs a drone channel like this, he uses this software, and I was showing him a portion of a video, and he set it up so that I can screen share my end. Through his,
And I actually did a test just to make sure I was ready for today, and set up with built-in webcam plus my AirPods and all that stuff, make sure everything would work. I kind of did testing yesterday with StreamYard, and I was able to share the screen, no problem at all. In fact, it says I'm sharing the screen now, but obviously you can't see it.
So what I'm doing here, I have a little monitor sitting on my table that I have other things open, and all I got to do, for instance, is do this. Let me see if I can. You see that?
Yes.
So it went from us, now it's just you, and now we got this, both of us together.
Right.
Or like this, or like this, or like this, or like that.
Okay.
So this is the cheap free version.
Yeah.
Where you could pay for the more advanced that allows you to do all kinds of overlays and silly things. And I could run one of these little. Everybody hates these when I do this. Take that off. I said, yes, sir. Not a problem. I'll take that off. But anyway, listen, we've been on for 1 hour. Anything else you want to contribute? I want to let you go. I don't want to keep you here all night. I got a couple of things that I'm going to go ahead and cover for the next couple hours. And if you want to hang out, go ahead and hang out. But I'm going to need to be switching back from,
Yeah, sure. Go ahead and drop me from StreamYard, and I'll just stay on and watch the YouTube.
Or I don't want to kick you out. You can kick yourself out if you want.
Okay. I'll do that, and I'll just rejoin the YouTube.
If you want to consider doing that, create a bullet list of what, the more naive Mac users, not you, you're not a naive Mac user, but you know what I'm talking about. The people that are always asking questions in my group. It's the same thing. And I know, I always say Jeff knows the answer to this one, or I'll say, let a Mac user chime in.
Right.
Because I cannot answer them,
Yeah, I'll try to put something together for sure. And kind of like a troubleshooting flow chart, if you will. If you're having this symptom, go check these things. I'll see what I'm putting together.
Like common things that people may be doing wrong. Basically without thinking. Because they rely on that automated system that, All right.
Okay. All right. See you over on YouTube. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed the visit from Jeff. He's the expert. He's the man I go to whenever I have a question or whenever somebody asks me something and I can't answer it because I've been using Windows for so long. Like I said, I used Mac back in the 90s, and it was totally for other things and not for printing. So let me go back. I'm going to backtrack here. And then I'm going to get to some subjects that we want to really talk about tonight. And by the way, guys, if you are not a Facebook user, and there is where you can access my so-called magic standard evaluation image. It's not mine. It was created by the ICC themselves. And so it's right here. And I want to go ahead and cover some of the things about that. And I will put the link. Let me copy the link so that you guys can access it. And go ahead and save this. Believe me, you will need it. That way you don't have to go to my group and get that image from me directly. You can get it from them directly. But here is the actual site that produced the image. And you can go ahead and download it directly from here. It takes you through a couple of their other images that they also provide you. And I have all of these available on my Facebook group, but you can get them from here as well. It takes you and walks you through everything, including analysis of how to use the image. Each one of these sets or components, if you will, of this image, they actually cover for you right here. So this is a really neat thing for you guys to access. Let me go ahead and click on the chat so that you guys have access to that. There you go. All right, so that is that for that. I'm going to go ahead and close that and bring myself back over here. I think we are back. I got to work on 2 monitors here. I'm not used to that just yet. So, oh, I moved that over, didn't I? Hang on a second, you guys. Come on, get out of that. There you go. What I need is a huge monitor that I can then use for this type of work here. We're going to move this back where it belongs to. There you go. All right. You guys didn't see that. So let me go back and backtrack. So again, that is the image you guys need to verify. All of these people that are having these problems between, like you said, like Jeff just explained to us, whereas, you update to Catalina, the latest Catalina version. And I think what they do is they just use sites in California, Northern California, to name their OS. And if they do a drastic change on the structure or the architecture of the operating system, you're going to have Canon make a new driver for it. Okay, it's not like Windows apparently just stays the same. And so regardless of how many times Windows 10 gets uploaded, I'm using ancient drivers for my 1400 and my R3000 and my 2880, all those old printers. They have not updated the drivers for them at all. So anyway, so you need to keep very close attention to how you handle the way you install the printer, the way you install the driver. And after that, I should have asked Jeff, there seems to be this urge by Mac users to immediately update. It's like when they announce a new iPhone and they camp out in front of the store. You can wait a month. You know that. You know you can. The world is not going to end if you just wait a little bit. The same thing, including Windows. Don't set it like I do. See, I don't care. I set it on auto update. Set it on manual update so that it notifies you. And then you look into that update and say, well, it's like QImage produces a new update. Well, what are you offering me? And I look at the actual, difference between the old one and the new one. It includes this, and this. It includes some profiles for some cameras that I don't own. I don't need to update. There's no need for me to update until they have one that has some new features or some improvements, bug fixes, if you will. Then sure, I will update them. That's what I do. So that's what you should do too. Don't jump at the update. If it ain't broke, remember that one. Okay, I know that I missed a bunch of people here, so let me go back. We got a good 2 hours to go anyway, so not a problem. So long as you guys gonna stay with us. Okay, Jose, I see some. Okay, we're gonna post this one. I see some vertical lines on the prints, vertical, but see that can be, a little bit confusing. What is vertical? Because if my print, I'll keep going back to this image. If my print is like this, then this is vertical. You see what I mean? If my print is this way, this is vertical. So are you talking about, and I hope you're still here with us, Cosmic Owens. Are they vertical or are they horizontal? Or are they just simply along the travel of the print head? You see what I'm saying? So depending on your image orientation of the paper, are they lined up with the same direction that the print head is moving back and forth? That's just banding, okay? And that has so many reasons for occurring. Just go back a couple of videos ago. I uploaded a video specific about that, okay? Watch that video when you have the chance. It talks about that. But banding can occur for many reasons, I should say, not choices. We don't choose to have banding. In fact, funny, I wanted an example of banding, and I just simply don't have one in my 13 printer army. Okay, I just don't have one. So what can cause banding? Well, it could be some nozzles that are not producing ink. In other words, they're blocked for whatever the reason. And so that will produce a certain kind of weird random banding, if you will. It'll just be like, maybe if your yellow is blocking in some areas, then somewhere where you have orange or red, you will see like magenta coming through because there's no yellow. So that's one kind of banding that can occur. The other one is more of a mechanical induced type banding, and that's because your head alignment needs to be performed. And the print head alignment is a functionality that you need to perform when you install the printer initially. But in order to do that, it's a catch-22. Here we go again. In order to do that, you have to have a perfect nozzle check. Otherwise, the head alignment will not be performed. So head alignment basically takes the advance that the paper makes every single time the head passes, and it matches it to the amount of ink or the width of the amount of ink that it lays down, so that there is no overlap. It'll just be, like that, perfect. If it's a gap, it will show us a lighter sort of gap in between each pass. If it's an overlap, it will show us a double printed area, basically. So you will have a little dark band between each pass. It tends to go away after you perform the head alignment. And sometimes if you just increase printing quality, it will go away. But that doesn't mean it's gone. Okay, it's still there, but it's just less visible because of the fact that you're printing at a higher quality. When you do that, there's more overlap of the dots, if you will, because it's only advancing maybe a 1/16 of an inch per pass, but it's laying down dots over all original older dots were laid down. It's only advancing half, like a 1/16 of an inch, but still laying dots over a 1/2 inch wide area. So it's going to sort of cover up any problems. But run a nozzle check first, make sure that there's no nozzles missing, and then after that, run a head alignment. You should be okay, assuming that's what it is. There's other reasons, but they are very rare. So areas that are blue like skies, oh man, for some reason they suffer from banding sometimes. Alrighty. Tom Volek is here from Nevada, Mac user, no problems. And he uses Q Image Ultimate. Awesome. And yeah, we are safe. So thank you so much. D. Johnson, Sophia Global, 72 cartridges for the Pro 100. What is that? Is that a brand of compatibles? Please don't use them. No compatibles. Don't do that. Hold on a second. Where's my... Yeah, use your original cartridges. There's no need to buy compatible cartridges for the Pro 10. Reset it, fill it by dripping ink directly into it. When it weighs 33 grams, you're done. Clip it back on. Put it in your printer. You're done. It's easy. No need to use third-party cartridges. They're terrible. They cannot duplicate due to patent restrictions the internal components of this cartridge. You have no clue what's in here. Okay, it's highly engineered. Okay, do not use third-party cartridges. they use a crappy sponge instead of an ink bag that is accordion pleated, that is pressurized by a diaphragm made out of thin aluminum. Yeah, don't do that. Use your original cartridges. I don't mean to come on that strong, but that's a big mistake. Do not use third-party cartridges on your Pro 10. You have the best available cartridges, the ones that came with the printer. You'll just have to get a resetter for it and then choose very carefully what inks to use in it. Please do that. Yeah, going back to the banding problem here, it doesn't matter on the profile. Has nothing to do with that, okay? It's not a profile problem. JTS Golf is here as well. He was here earlier, 4:05 here. See, I got to catch up with everyone here. You guys will have to forgive me. I mean, we did have a guest speaker. So question 2 from Cosmic. I've been leaving the printer on. Let me put this over here so we can all see it. Printer on with the LEDs lit day and night, but after every print, it does what seems a 10-second of rolling something inside. Yeah, it's doing an agitation, okay? And in order to do that, since we're talking about the Pro 10, where did I put my cartridge? And this is why I'm telling you, don't buy anything else. Inside that bag, there's a little paddle, okay? And the printhead will just go back and forth like this. We go back and forth, and that paddle just does this, and it just agitates the inks, okay? That's what it's doing. Don't worry. Let the Pro 10 do its thing, okay? It's doing this for your own good, believe me. One thing that I will suggest is to go to your power settings in the maintenance tab of your printer and then set it to never turn off, okay? That's one thing you should always do. Don't let these printers turn themselves off. Sandeep says, I just bought new Canon ink for the Pro 1000. How long will it last before drying up seal? It will never dry up, okay? Never, okay? The ink is made out of glycol solution, and it just doesn't evaporate. That glycol solution doesn't evaporate. It does on paper eventually, but not in a cartridge form, okay? Don't worry about it, or a bottle or whatever. Don't worry. All right, and we had some questions here from the QMH1. Michael, I mean, not Michael. You know who I mean. Gosh, my brain. Andrew. Michael McLean says, still a Mojave. Print on Lightroom Pro 10, Pro 100 with calibrated monitor and no issues. And that's exactly what none of us should be having any issues at all. None of us should have any issues at all. Like I said, I can print, gosh, I don't want to sound like I'm showing off, but I can print blindfolded. Click, just point me where the print button is. Click, and I walk over and I get a result that I am pleased with. Okay. Rusty Nelson is here as well. And then Richard said this. I purchased them and they arrived. It took a few weeks for them to arrive due to import delays. I need to run out at least one ink to start testing them. Here's what's going to happen, Richard. And I know I told you this on the phone. They are all going to work. Okay. They're all going to work. No problem. The first time. The secret and the key here is whether they will then reset when one of those goes empty. And then you remove it. You actually interrupt the power to that chip. And then when you pop it back in after you refilled it to full, it will reset itself to full again, full in the ink indicator, the levels indicator. And then you can just pat yourself in the back. I want to hear you scream outside with delight. I want to be able to hear it 3,000 miles away. Okay. You're in LA. I am in Washington, D.C. practically. So, yeah. And then you let me know, please, because if that happens, then that's it. We have this problem solved. Okay. That's been the problem with the Pro 1000 since the beginning. All righty, we have Bill Sturck, we have Saeed. Crypto Time Lord says, nope, loud and clear. D. Johnson says, you are fine, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's when people were commenting that I may have been frozen. Okay, we have Tom Volek. He's a Mac user. New Catalina, no problems at all. Great. D. Johnson, this is boring. Get back to answering your questions. Oh, wow. Sorry, D. What can I say? This is what's going to happen from now on. We're going to have guests. And yeah, we're going to be discussing things. And that's the way it's going to be. You're lucky. This is the only live stream that actually addresses the chat. No one else does. No one else does. Okay. All right, Agent X. I don't use Macs because it's of too much Apple propriety. You mean Pro? Yeah, I know what you mean. Crypto Time Lord says, from Windows OS 10, I'm a better user tester for Windows 10. So far, we are on eval build, whatever, and pre-release 17, blah, 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 blah. So far, no issues with Canon Pro 1000 drivers. Yeah, we want to know one thing, though, about the firmware of the Pro 1000. Will it block third-party users? Emmanuel is locked in France. That's too bad. Sorry to hear that. Same thing here, but people just don't pay attention. The same thing down in Florida or Wisconsin, for that matter. Early on, Windows was not really an OS. It was more like a DOS shell. Yeah, originally. All right, let's keep on going here. See if we find an actual question that we can then work around. Okay. So Martin says, I've tried your Epson printhead cleaning method, but the darn thing got worse. Any suggestions? What did you try? And what printer? So that's something we need to know. So what can you do with an Epson printer? Well, you can do a lot more than you can with a Canon printer. Canon printer printheads like this one, very fragile. They're thermal. They react to abuse, okay? So you cannot be doing the more invasive things that you can do to an Epson printer. So it depends on the Epson model as well. So you need to tell me which one it is that you have. Does it have cartridges that ride on top of the printhead and move along as you print? You can remove those after you've done cleaning cycles, after you have soaked the bottom plate of the printhead with a paper towel folded to fit underneath, and then soak with some kind of cleaner. I use Windex from window cleaning type solution with ammonia. It does a marvelous job. Or you can take off the cartridges, set up a syringe. I don't have one here, but a syringe with a piece of tubing attached that would happen to fit perfectly on the spigot where the cartridge mates onto, and you would inject cleaning solution very, 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 very carefully through the actual printhead. If you do it too hard, too much force, you will delaminate the printhead and kill it. So you don't want to do that. That's the last resort. There are many things you could do. And again, Epson will sort of take the abuse. Canon simply will not. They'll succumb to just about anything. But at least, as you can see here, I can remove my Canon printhead and replace it with a new one. Not so with an Epson, not unless you're a really good mechanic. The two systems are pretty much vanilla, basically just a user preference anymore. Okay, here's the one. Why do I need 13 printers? I need them. I need them because I love them. I'm addicted. I just have to have them. No, not really. If you ask me a question about a P800, I have to have one here to be able to answer you, to be able to me then run some tests and then tell you that, yeah, these inks work perfectly with a P800. The roll adapter seems to work just fine. I need a Pro 1000. I need a Pro 10. I need a Pro 1. I need a Pro 100. I need a 3800, 3880, R3000, a 1900, and an 1800, an R2000, a 2400. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And even one of these oldie but goodies, a 340. That's the reason. Okay, let's see what else. My stomach just growled. I need to go eat some dinner. Right. So, okay, Agent X was helping the guy with the head clean problem. Let's see. Let's look at this one here. I am about to make transition from Canon inks to Octo inks in the UK. I currently use generic ICC profiles for photo speed papers with excellent results. Okay. The inks that Martin sells, if this is octoink.co.uk, they get their inks from image specialists in the US. So you should be able to use even OEM profiles. You know, profiles that were created with OEM inks should be able to be used with those inks. You won't have much, if no color change at all. Okay, should be fine. As I replace each Canon cartridge one by one with those provided by Octo Ink, what impact is this likely to have on print results? It just depends on how well they are matched. Hold your thoughts. Do I have this available here? I know I always show you guys this. If your ink set is beautifully matched, okay, and I know you're not here in the US, so you cannot get Precision Colors inks, but I always show you guys this. Here we have a shot of a show car engine, and this thing is chrome and it's been painted with the most god-awful deep blue, almost into the realm of purple. I can't really tell, but here we go. I'm going to show you two renditions of the same image. Okay, let me get this as straight as I can possibly make it. Here we go, and I'll just move back a little bit. There we go. Now we got some window light from that side, and I got some LEDs shining on it, so you may have some very uneven lighting. I will turn it this way. I will turn it the other way. What you guys got to tell me is which is OEM and which one's Precision Colors, or Octo Ink in this case. This is what you're looking for. You want to be able to have absolutely no difference. Okay, OEM is on the top. OEM right there, and PC is on the bottom. Okay, and that's the kind of results you're looking for. So if the given inkset cannot provide this kind of result, then you're going to have a transition problem. So this is why we call these a transition-free inks. Okay, they will not show any difference. You will not have to adjust anything, whether you switch one by one or the whole lot at one time. Oh, but what about reds and other colors? Okay, we'll do the same thing. Let's see, let me get the PC one. Okay, let me switch them around so you don't guess on me. All right. A betta fish. Beautiful fish, right? Which is OEM, which is PC. Now you might say, well, the one on the right, Jose, the blues are a little bit stronger. The reds are really, really strong. This one's PC, this one's OEM. There's a slight difference there, right? And people have actually picked the PC ink. When I lay these down on a table for people to examine, they choose the PC one. So again, that's just a very quick example of what you need to expect. Let me show you an image that's almost monochromatic in nature. And see, when something is very saturated or is a perfect monochrome, then you can see the difference. When it is, I should say, no, I retract. When it is a monochrome, you will see the difference immediately between the renditions between two ink sets. When it's a highly saturated, very colorful image, it's very difficult to see unless there's some particular color that reacted differently to that other ink set compared to OEM. But when you have a monochrome that's not quite a monochrome, I should say a color image that's almost monochromatic, I should say, that's when you see the difference. Because any error in color rendition, you should be able to see immediately which one is which. Okay, top one is PC, bottom one is OEM. Again, when I did this test, I was blown away. I said, "Bologna, somebody is pulling the wool over my eyes here." No, I was pulling the wool over my own eyes, basically. But yeah, that was the case. It was damn near perfect. It's like, why are we even concerned? Why are we even concerned about switching from your OEM, your precious OEM inks, to this new ink set from PC? And if the inks from Octo Ink react that way as well, then more power to you. Congratulations. I hope they do. I'm not so sure. But they should be just fine. Again, you can just switch all of them at once or one at a time. It should be fine. All right, I'll take care of that. Hang on a second. I believe I have that here. If not, I will look it up. If I spell it right. Sorry about that. I closed down my link. That's the only dangerous thing about this software. So you can cut yourself out. It is not an actual software. It's just a site that you use. All right. So I went ahead and posted a link. By the way, tell me if I'm still live. Tell me if you can still see me. And we'll keep on going here. I'm going to have to skip through some of these. You guys can go ahead and read the chat yourself. Okay, we can see you. Great. All right, awesome. So I went ahead and posted the link to the site. Here it is right here. And go ahead, you guys that want to check out Q Image 1, click on that, and you'll be able to access it after the show, of course, not now. All right, let me go ahead, and before we spend more time playing around here, I'm going to talk about a little bit about some subjects that I had planned to talk about. And this one was pretty odd, but it happens. And this is one of the dangers of basically doing your own processing of these cartridges, the CLI 42. So this is an actual OEM CLI 42 cartridge. And I went ahead and flushed it. And I did something that a lot of Europeans are not doing, because, and this is not knocking the site that sells these at all, but they're selling you a type of a tapered plug that supposedly you don't have to then drill out the seat on the hole, the factory fill hole where you remove that ball from. So if you remove that ball, but you do not drill out the seat is just there to hold the ball, to keep it from falling through into that liquid chamber. That's the only job of that seat. It allows the ball to rotate. I don't know what the function of that ball is really, because it's not for sealing anything. The seal is done by the actual labeling. So when you remove that ball and you do not drill out that seat, then the plug can only basically very passively cover the hole. That's it. It's not really producing a solid seal. Okay. If you drill out the hole with a 5/32 diameter inch, 5/32 inch diameter drill, and you're very careful not to do an oval hole, in other words, but drill it very carefully. If you have a drill press or any kind of hand drill, again, very carefully drill out that hole. The chips will come out. They will not be pushed in. Don't worry about that. Now you have this type of plug with a little tab. Okay, Rick Johnson was with me I think it was last week, and he showed us how to do that. I'm going to backlit this so you can see it. I'm going to use my little flashlight, and I hope this comes across clear enough. Oh no, it doesn't. Forget it. That was a bad choice. Let me see. I think we probably don't even need backlighting. That's just too much backlight. All right. So I'm going to put this as close as I can. Now watch what happens when the tip of the plug hits the bottom of the seat. That's as far as it would go normally, okay, on one of those taper plugs. But I'm going to push it all the way through, and it's going to come through that hole that is narrower. It's actually narrower than the diameter of the plug itself. So the plug has to compress and then re-expand as it emerges past that hole that you drilled out. That causes the perfect seal. Why am I yapping about this? Okay, because a person told me that their cartridges were leaking uncontrollably. And I thought, before, this always happened. People don't give me enough detail. I have to basically pull teeth back and forth. Eventually, I found out they were using those tapered plugs, which are, they work when they work, but when they don't work, you leak out everywhere. I showed them how to do the trick, the test. I don't want to do it here. I did it on a video, and I actually got a drop of ink on my finger. Yeah. If this is full, okay, and this is saturated, and you have that plug in place, when I remove the clip from the bottom, I might get a drip once or twice. That's it. Once about 1 or 2 drops come out, there's an equilibrium that is reached inside the actual cartridge, and no more ink comes out. What is keeping that ink from coming out uncontrollably? That plug, the sealing of that plug. If that plug is not sealed, if that plug is not sealing the hole, then you will have an uncontrollable leak, and the cartridge will simply empty out. It will empty out through your printhead into your wasting pads. Your chip has no clue that happened. So the chip says, I still have ink. You print like a big dummy because you really don't know what's going on, and your printhead burns out. because you walk away and you're doing a 13 by 19 with no ink in that cartridge. That's what will happen. So do not fall for that. Oh, you don't have to drill your cartridges if you use these plugs. Don't do it. Don't do it. Rick Johnson sells these tabbed plugs. Look at how great these are. Watch. You just grab it and pull it. Okay. You don't have to use your nails to, pull out the, no. You just grab the tab and pull it. Precision Color sells these, and Rick Johnson sells them as well. In fact, they come with a set of his pre-flushed and pre-modified cartridges. They come with this clip. They come with that plug. Okay. $60. That's it. Who can argue with that? That's the best way to go. You don't have to deal with any of this garbage. You can just go ahead and forego your own processing, your own flushing. It really takes forever, okay, to do it properly, like a whole week to do one cartridge, okay, or a set of cartridges. You can't leave your printhead devoid of cartridges while you're performing all of that flushing, modification, drying, and maybe it's not drying enough because your humidity is too high in your home. Oh, don't deal with that. Just spend $60 and get the cartridge set already done. Fill it with Precision Colors, with Octo ink, with whatever ink you want to use, and pop the whole thing into your printhead. Boom, you're done. You're done. They will flow perfectly. He sold, 300 sets, and not one person has complained. That's a pretty good record. Not bad. Another thing, when you guys start to make your own profiles and something happens, it doesn't get recognized by your Mac OS system. It could be that you chose version 4. In the preferences of the software for these types of profilers or this, there's a choice to either choose version 2 or version 4. Version 4. Choose version 2. Okay. That's compatible with everything. Version 4, certain things are not compatible with version 4 profiles. That gets into a little bit technical stuff. It's only for those of you who are creating profiles on your own. There's a lot of information here as well on the chat about where profiles are kept in the Mac system. Different color sync folders. That's what I just discussed. See what else we got here. Yeah, ICC version 4 is what it's really the default for this software. So you have to kind of manually set that to the correct version 2, unless whatever you're using can handle version 4 ICC profiles. You see, can't remember if Lightroom supports V4 or not. And here, this is all about Mac. You guys are discussing this on your own, which is great. Go ahead and do that. And I'm going to go ahead and hit on something different here. So we talked about why a cartridge can be, uncontrollably leaking itself into your printhead, just wasting all of the ink that you refilled it with. It'll be gone by one evening, okay? It'll be all gone if your plug is not sealing properly. Another test that you could do is to take the bottom clip off. Here's one that I have not processed yet. And take the plug off. You should get a drip constant. With the plug on and sealed, you should not get a single drip. Okay? So that's how you test ink flow. Ink flow will drip, 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 drip like that when you take the plug off, but not when you have the plug on, unless your plug is not leaking, it's not sealing, in other words. Yeah. How long can I let my CLI 42 cartridge just sit after flushing? As long as you want. Yeah, they can sit this way on a table, anywhere, It doesn't matter. Just let them sit. They will dry to an optimum level, and they will remain that way. And they will only react to, humidity changes. But as long as they weigh like 13.5 to 13.67 at the most grams, they'll be ready to be refilled. They will be able to absorb ink into that sponge beautifully. So no problem at all. Okay, let's see what else we had here. And we talked about advanced black and white mode, didn't we? In so-called black and white mode in the Canon printers. And basically what it does, it allows you to print your images that you converted to black and white. I'm trying to do two things at once here. And I'm too old to be able to do that. Anyway, so what happens is you convert an image to black and white. You started with an RGB image, 3 channels of color. You converted you basically desaturated each color by converting it to black and white, but you still retain all that bit rate, all that information. So each channel will have 255 from black to white tones or tones of gray. So you multiply that times itself is over 16 million shades of gray that you can reproduce. Well, it depends on how you print it. So if you're printing a converted image to black and white, to monochrome, you can just treat it as a color image. Just print it with a so-called ICC profile that you were using in the past. Okay, full-blown color management, it doesn't really matter. You will be fine. So let me go ahead and minimize this a minute here. You will be fine. So again, just use your normal workflow. QImage does it automatically for you, by the way. It sets your driver to the correct color management condition, meaning it's either on or off, depending on your application, which in this case is QImage. If your QImage is using a ICC profile, it will automatically turn off that function in your printer driver. The reverse also holds true. If you're letting the driver control color, and so you're printing on ProLuster paper and you choose ProLuster in the driver, QImage will set the driver to the correct setting as well, which will be a driver matching or matching ICM. So that means that the printer driver will be controlling color. But again, black and white doesn't have color, right? So why do I need an ICC profile? Well, you really don't. You really do not. Because if you print a monochrome image and let the driver control color by using black and white mode or advanced black and white, you cannot use an ICC profile in your so-called editing application. Whatever application you're sending that image to the driver with, you cannot use an ICC profile. It's just going to take all of that monochrome information and it's going to run it through the print engine, and it's going to then determine how much black, grays, and if needed, remember that dye black inks are purple, some yellow, and possibly some magenta to help neutralize that image throughout from black all the way to white. It has to be neutral, linearly. It cannot be changing warm and cold. It has to be the same level of neutrality. That's impossible to achieve, okay? That really is. But you can come so close that visually you cannot detect it. So advanced black and white mode and black and white mode in Canon printers, advanced black and white in Epson's, what they call it, and black and white mode in Canon does that. And it provides you with the most neutrally perfect rendition of that image, okay? Yes, you can get just as good a result using an ICC profile. And even there's a way to produce a black and white ICC profile with the X-Ray software. It has that function as well. So what does the better job? That's up to you. You just use both methods and then compare them. You might see a difference in shadow areas. You might see a slightly more separated tonality in the shadows. They will not be so crushed And by that, I mean that maybe the first 0 to maybe 10 kind of get compressed more. So that they take up the space that 5 would, would 5 steps would take up, and they get crushed a little bit. So advanced black and white mode may be able to expand those, especially if you are printing with OEM inks. These modes are intended for OEM inks only. They will work, however, with a good matched third-party ink set. So again, it's a wonderful, if all you do is print black and white or monochrome, then just use that. You don't have to worry about an ICC profile at all. You don't have to worry about any color management at all. Just tell the driver, I want to use black and white mode, and make sure that your application is not using a profile. Tell it to let the driver control color, go to your driver, choose black and white mode, boom. Now, what's the beauty of this? That it really takes a couple of extra steps if you're doing it through your application. Hang on. Here's the beauty. You have a color wheel, and then you have a little indicator, a little cursor, if you will, in the middle. That's the neutral point. So you print your image, and it comes out perfectly neutral. Then you say, you know what? This image is of glaciers in the ocean. I'm on the deck of a big cruise ship in the coast of Alaska, and I just shot the perfect image. And I wanted, black and white, but it just doesn't look cold enough. So I want it to be a little bit bluish, just a hint, so that it kind of gives you that chill, So if that happens, if that is the case, you can just move that little cursor over toward the blue. Okay, you would have red, blue, green, and yellow, magenta, cyan. You can move it in any direction you want to apply a global tone to that. You cannot get that with the piezography inks because they're all based on grays and blacks. Okay, they're carbon-based inks. But when you're printing with color inks, you can print perfect black and whites that are neutral throughout the range from black to white. Simply, you can change the tonality of that global result by just moving that little cursor. And Canon will allow you to do that, and so will Epson. And it works absolutely perfect, okay? So if that's all you do, if you never, ever print a color image for, say, something like this, I could turn this into black and white. Let me orient it correctly. And I can print a beautiful black and white of this, okay? By simply using advanced black and white in an Epson like a P800, or black and white mode on a Pro 100, Pro 10, Pro 1, Pro 1000, whatever. Okay, and it works. It really does. It even allows you sometimes to do a so-called duotone. A duotone would be where your lower tones are printed a little bit bluish, and your warmer, I let the cat out of the bag, and the lighter tones are printing a little bit warm. So you get kind of a dual. It's a really neat result, and doesn't work for just anything or everything. But for the correct image, it really does work, especially if you have, for example, a shot of someone in the sun being lit by very harsh light. The sun is low. Those highlights should be printed slightly warmer, and the shadows should be a little bit cooler. And that will still be a black and white, but it'll just give you that extra third dimension, if you will, of your result. It'll just look majestic, okay? Really. All right. We got one more hour, just a little over an hour. Yeah, we were talking about the cartridges after flushing. So somebody also asked a question about having a slight tint. I don't have any here with a slight tint. But what will happen is this. These new inks from the 42, CLI 42 cartridges have been totally reformulated. They do not compare whatsoever to the earlier inks on the, I forget the term that Canon uses for inks. My mind, yeah. So like Pro 9000 Mark II inks, okay? Dye inks, they have pretty much the same, except that they use green as well. The Pro 100 uses red. So did that one, the 9000. But those inks, if you flush one of their cartridges, the CLI 8, just with water, it'll be clean white. Perfect. If you flush a CLI 42 cartridge, however, you will not get a clean white result. It'll have a tint. This will only be gray. This will always be a gray cartridge unless I pre-flush with Windex. Okay. Does it really hurt? Only the yellow. As you all know, the yellow could have a reaction. And I don't want to create any kind of hopes out there. But you know that the signature edition inks, they have a new black and a new yellow. We have no clue yet whether that yellow reacts. We don't know. I would not ask any of you to be the guinea pig to test that at all. It took me 3 complete refills to get the yellow jello effect that block the ceramic port. It's not the printhead that is being blocked. It's not the nozzles. It's this port right here. It's got a screen that's made out of wire mesh, and then underneath there's a porous ceramic plate. That's where the gel, if you will, cannot deposit itself. All right. So that's going to block any ink from passing through, and you have to clear that out with Windex or any other strong cleaning solution. It will take care of it. But we just don't know whether this new yellow has the same properties against OEM yellow that the older water-based yellow inks, because the other colors do not react at all. So you don't have to be worried about other colors reacting. So the question was, going back after all that talking, the question was, oh, gee, I still have kind of a magenta tint on my cartridge. Should I worry? No, there's nothing to worry about. In fact, you didn't even have to flush that cartridge. You could have just added, PC SE inks directly to it. The question is, can I do that to the yellow? We don't know. We do not know. Yeah, I have extra Pro 100s to use as a guinea pig. Why take the chance? Russian roulette. Why do that? I'm going to go ahead and just continue doing what I've been doing and pre-flush my yellow cartridge before I use it. Simple as that. And that way there will be absolutely no problems. In fact, I was the first one to report that problem. I told PC. He freaked out. He did all kinds of, Petri dish testing of OEM against his yellow ink. And at some proportional dilution, he saw some gelling. But he couldn't really pinpoint what the conditions would have to be. Well, like I said, I had to refill 3 times. What's happening, this is what I explained to him, believe it or not. I was explaining something to him just the other day, yesterday, as a matter of fact. As ink drops, let me use the best example here, this one here. So this one's empty, and you can see that ink is dropping. Look at the top of that sponge, is pure white, okay? It never saw any ink, okay? So as ink drops, and then if I go ahead and refill this, ink will fill the bottom layer. I mean, it'll just saturate the hell out of the bottom layer, but not so much the top layer. So there's always going to be some original yellow ink up on that upper portion of the sponge. I go ahead and empty that out again. Basically, I'm just emptying this. It's going through the bottom and basically exiting. It's not really 100% mixing. It's not a vortex taking place. It's very passive. So then I refill it again and then again. At that third refill, for whatever the reason, the concentration of original ink and the concentration of PC original yellow ink was perfect. So the perfect storm brewed, and I developed that gel. And it came down and plugged up my filters on my printhead, and I couldn't see any yellow. I freaked out. I didn't know what was going on. So, what can you do? Well, make sure that you flush that yellow cartridge, and don't worry about the other ones at all. If they have a little bit of a color tint to the sponge, they're fine. They're not going to get a reaction. In fact, you can just put ink from PC directly over the existing ink that you may have had from the OEM, You don't see the difference anyway in color rendition. Sure, the other factor, of course, is longevity. That is a huge difference. But you can take steps to negate that, if you will, so that you increase the life of your prints. In another, what is it now? April. So in August, I will bring down the two prints that are up in my top of the steps facing the east window. OEM and PCSE. Pro Luster, the worst paper in the world to do a fade test on. Okay. And it's going to be visually shown here. I'm going to show you guys what the difference is after 1 year of exposure in an area of the house that I would never post or put anything on the wall. It's just simply too bright. My living room is probably twice as dark as that area up there is. So that will tell you two things. What my atmospheric conditions are here, if I have oxidants in the air, ozone, or I have too much light, or I have too much UV. Well, the light has to go through glass, so the UV is pretty much blocked at that point. People don't think that regular glass blocks UV. It does. You don't need fancy UV glass, cost you a fortune. Regular glass does a pretty good job. I have prints mounted for 7-8 years under a regular cheapo $15 frame from Michaels, and they are perfect. And they were printed with dye inks, even. Okay, the ones that were printed with pigment inks, they will last. I will be gone, and my son will be old by the time they begin to, maybe if they even fade. So again, not really any need to worry about any of this. Okay, just don't worry about it. There are ways to treat those prints so that they do last longer. And why do we do this third-party thing anyway? Well, it's just a lot cheaper. It takes the fear out of printing anymore. So if you don't print enough just because you cannot afford the inks, this is your way out. Then you can use your printer as it was intended to be used. Printing is expensive. It's not cheap. Okay, it's very expensive little hobby to get into. So you want to explore ways to reduce the cost so it can be fun again, and not just something that's a financial chore, if you will. So a simple coating of spray will block that surface of the paper. Ozone cannot get in. If you're printing on junk, RC papers that have the so-called microporous coating, you seal that. The ozone cannot enter through the back. It's resin coated. Basically a plastic coating. Yeah, it can enter through the sides a little bit, migrate maybe a millimeter or two. But if you have a border on your prints, you will never see that anyway. So by sealing it with 1 or 2 coats of, say, Moab Desert Varnish, wonderful stuff. I have it on my Amazon affiliate link if you're interested, among others. Do that, and it will increase many fold the longevity of your prints, even on crappy paper like Pro Luster. And I call it crappy because it's the one that will fade the quickest. Okay. Even if it doesn't fade in 10 years with OEM inks, it's still a lot worse than 70 years with another paper, with one of the Verita, fiber-based papers, no RC, no UV, no OBAs or any of that stuff. Just a pure, decent paper, and increases your longevity manyfold just by itself without any further treatment. Okay, so paper is a huge factor as well. Somebody asked about inks, which fade faster, not fade, but which are used up faster. And if I remember, that was one of the things that I posted on a video called Questions with No Answers. And there are many of those that people ask. What printer should I buy? I have no idea. Gee, what car should you buy? I don't know. What brand of eggs should you buy? I don't know. It really has no answer. So colors are not used equally. I wish they were, but they're not. There's an advantage to that, and there's a disadvantage to that. Imagine, if you will, a Pro 2000 or higher, or one of the big SureColor Epson printers. where you're paying $300 per cartridge and you got 10 or 12 of those. Do the math. So do you really want to shell out that kind of money all at once or once in a while? I would choose once in a while. But when you're dealing with a printer with diminutive cartridges like these, tiny ones, these only hold 13 milliliters total. There's still about 2.5 milliliters of ink still dried up inside the sponge right here. It did not get used up. So you're only using maybe 80% at most of your inks. But you're using that a lot quicker than a cartridge with 700 milliliters of ink. You see, these, depending on the predominance of color, if you only print standard images, I guarantee you they will be used up equally because that image contains an equal amount of colors. Okay, it does. If you look at the histogram representation of that image, it's about midway up and the same across. It is equal all the way across. Amazing. Amazing. No image you create will match that, believe me. So if you print a lot of landscapes with greens, luscious greens and browns, then you will use those colors that produce greens and browns a lot sooner than colors that produce blues and purples, you see, or pinks. So it depends on your images. The first go around, they tend to sort of drop equally. And then you get some of them that are empty. And then you change those and they become full. So now you got a discrepancy of almost empty and a few full ones. And this one goes empty. This one drops down to this. You replace that one and so on. After the third round, you got this and 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 yeah, all over the place. So this comes into play. What comes into play is when you refill. So if you are doing all your printing simply on OEM inks, then of course you're not going to replace a whole set of cartridges. You're going to do them one at a time. Well, you're going to get stuck in a huge, domino effect because you'll be constantly changing cartridges on a printer that uses tiny little cartridges like this. You're going to constantly be changing cartridges. But if you're doing OEM, you're stuck with that routine. Sorry, that's it. You're going to have to live with that. If you're refilling, however, then it turns around toward our favor because now I can reset these at will anytime I want to. I can top them off anytime I want to. So what I do is I watch when this goes down to almost low, and it'll tell me, hey, dude, you're almost low. You're just above the bottom. I stop, I press the button, I move the print head, I remove all of those cartridges, put the clips back on them. I take another set that I pre-filled and reset and put it in there in that printer. And it's like starting all over again. Remember, at first you did not have that domino effect? Yeah. So that's what I do. Right now, my Pro 10 is all at the same level, just about. My Chroma Optimizer is low, and I had to replace that one. What's that going to do? It's going to bring that to full, and it's going to then leave the other ones a little bit lower because it's going to run a purge cycle. Okay. So you see what I mean? I will be creating the first step of that domino effect. But if I take the whole set out, not only do I top off the Chroma Optimizer one, but I also top off the other 9. And I pop it back in. I start from fresh again. I run one purge cycle. With the OEM only printing strategy, I'll be running a global so-called purge cycle every time I replace just one cartridge. Oh, well, then replace several. Why? Why would I do that? I'll be wasting very expensive OEM ink that way, you see. So I'm forced to just simply replace one at a time as needed. When they declare empty, I take it out and I put a full one in there. And the other ones will be at all kinds of different levels. It'll run a purge cycle. It'll reduce the level on all the other cartridges as well. Yeah. One of them that was low may be now empty. So Yeah, it's a never-ending domino effect. Just something you have to accept. So the bigger volume of your cartridges, the less you're going to see this problem. So on that cartridge set that is 700 milliliters, don't worry about it. You definitely don't want to replace all 12 700 milliliter cartridges if you are paying $300 a piece. You don't want to do that. So again, it's just a bunch of different strategies that you have to apply depending on your situation, what you're trying to do. We can go on forever on that subject, by the way. So exactly when should I change my Pro 1000 cartridges? These are videos that are going to be coming out this week, by the way. Okay. I'm just giving you guys a preview. So you guys already know. It's like going to a private preview of a movie, right? So here is my, where is it? Oh, good Lord. Where did it go? I just had it here. Pro 1000. Here it is. I'm blind. Pro 1000 cartridge. Bingo, right? This way. When do I replace this? Well, remember, if you were doing OEM Pro 100, you replace it when it's empty, like this one. This one is declared empty. If I pop it into the printer, it will be read as empty. I replace it with a full one, and I keep going. The same thing here. So I don't know what people were thinking about. When do you replace these? If you're printing OEM only, you run them until the chip says it's empty. And the printer says, hey, this cartridge is empty, and you cannot print any longer until you replace it. Simple as that. The difference between this or between an Epson, I don't have one here, OEM cartridge is simple. The Epson OEM cartridge will have ink still in it. Okay. For what reason, I really do not know. They have an ink bag. They are not going to aspirate any air, so I don't know why they need to give you 15 to 20 milliliters of ink extra. In the P800 is 10. So it comes with 90, but it is actually rated for 80. So when the chip goes empty, you still have 10 milliliters of ink in that ink bag. I can extract that and use it. I can refill all the cartridges with it. Okay. But anyway, these do not. When this reads empty, it's empty. Stop printing, please. Don't press the buttons to allow yourself to continue to print. Okay. Stop printing. Replace it immediately. There's no window of opportunity here. When this is empty, you take it out, it weighs 32 grams plus a few milligrams. That's empty weight. Okay. So do not play around, change it at that point. If you are refilling these, however, you can do that just prior to being so-called recalled empty. And you're going to be changing the chip anyway to a full single-use chip. And you then refill the cartridge as I have demonstrated in the videos. You're going to use a vacuum or pressurizing method. I have a video that I posted from Ink Owl, shows you how to do it. Very easy. You need to really be empty so you know exactly how much ink to add, because there's really no room for error here. This will hold, factory level is 80 milliliters. When you buy inks from Precision Colors, you get 82 milliliters. You can load the 82 in your syringe. Okay. And then you're going to insert that in there. And you have your ink. Let's just say this is how many this is. This is actually a 60 ml syringe. Make believe this is 100 ml. Now, I cannot do this with two hands, but I'm going to put this down. I'm going to give you a quick dry demonstration. So say this is your 80 right here. Okay. You're going to insert it, create a nice seal. You're going to either do this, either push in and force ink in. That will create a pressurized situation here inside. There's no air. Air cannot get out, okay? So you're going to force the ink in, and you're going to pull back and allow that air to come into the syringe, okay? The ink level will drop to 30, let's just say at this point, or let's just call it 50. Force more ink in until you cannot get any more ink. Don't go pressing down with 30 pounds of pressure, just gently. And then retract, create a vacuum, and again. And as you repeat this process, all of the ink will go into the cartridge. If the cartridge was empty to begin with, you'll get all your ink inside, and then you can remove this without getting spit in the face with ink, okay? What about the vacuum method? Same thing. You're just doing it backwards. Insert, create a nice seal, pull back, create a vacuum. That creates a vacuum internally and allows liquid to go in. Pull back, create a vacuum again, and allow liquid to go in. Now it'll be down here, and then you just keep going until all of the ink is inside. Simple as that. It's a beautiful system. This has no way for air to ever vent out. It does it through the printer, okay? The spigot on the printer has the ability to allow air to also vent out. So as ink is being drawn out to be used for printing, you create a deficit here, and the air has to then come in and fill that deficit. And that happens through the spigot. It's magical. It's a beautifully designed system. It feeds by gravity. There's no pressurization required whatsoever. So you don't need extra pressurized pumps like the P800 uses. None of that. Not needed at all. Here's a rumor for you guys. And I would like to see some scientific testing to verify this. As you guys know, the Pro 1000 loves to run cleaning cycles and all of this not premeditated, that sounds like something else. But you know what I mean. Preemptive cleanings. It needs them. It has to do them so that the printer remains 100% working, clean, and able to print without banding, without any kind of lacking color, any of that stuff. It has to clean itself out. I was told by a couple of Pro 2000 users and one Pro 4000 user that those printers do not run these constant cleaning cycles. And I'm thinking, why? They use the same print engine. The difference may be that the cartridges load this way. I don't know. I don't know why it would not need to do that. It's not very clear as to, the reason behind that. So again, it's just a rumor. But if you guys are considering getting a Pro 2000 or 4000, I know that my buddy Rusty was here earlier. I don't know if he's still hanging with us, but he has a Pro 4000. He can maybe tell us if there's any difference between the Pro 1000, which he also has, and the Pro 4000. What is the difference in behavior? How does it behave? That would be really neat to know, okay? And so if they are willing to, share someday that information, I'd be more than glad to receive it. I'm going to go ahead and let me see. I don't know why I did that. Let's go back to this. There you go. I was setting it up for the end there. All right. So let's see. Yeah. CLI 42. And a user noticed something really strange. I need to have this one here that has ink in it. This is one that I recently modified, and I filled it up with precision color inks. Now, notice there's ink left in the reservoir. So imagine if this was maybe, I don't know, about half full, and I was replacing all 10, all 8 in this case at once. Okay, and I have these lined up on my table, and I notice that some of these are at different levels. And notice, however, how evenly saturated it is. Yeah, there's some little areas that look a little bit lighter than others, but there's no upper half white or lighter like this one is. You see that? This is what it would look like during use, okay? But this is what it looks like after it has been removed and it sits to rest. So I just took them out, okay? And it looked like this. The sponge looked like this, not with white. That only happens with OEM, but let's just say like this. And I still had ink here. And I had the clips installed, and I took off the plug to proceed with topping it off. I already topped off the other ones. And I noticed that as soon as I took the plug off, the ink started to drop. Okay. And I'm going, oh my God, it's leaking. That's what this person thought. And they're looking everywhere for massive leaks. And it's not leaking. Then they realized, hey, my sponge no longer looks like this. It no longer looks like a two-story building, you know. It was more of a single so-called saturation level. And that's what it was doing. During printing, while ink is being aspirated out of the print, out of the by the printer, out of the sponge side, you get this effect. And you don't see that because, you know, it's inside the printer. You're not looking at that ever. So only when you remove them do you see that. So if this had ink in it and I remove the plug in order for me to refill it, you will immediately see ink level just drop as it refills that sponge completely. Okay. And that is just a normal behavior. That's what happens. And again, remember, you guys don't realize we're not supposed to do this. Okay. Those cartridges are not intended to be refilled. We get it to work by doing things really carefully and systematically. And we have experimented this till the cows come home. Since the year, 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, we've been playing around with this. So these little phenomenons, if you will, are natural. That's the way it works. That's the way the ink flows into the sponge while it is working. The plug is in place. It's actually hydraulically controlled at that point, and there's only so much ink going into the sponge, only what is needed. When you plug the bottom up, remove it from the print head, of course, and plug the bottom up with a clip and remove that plug, you've opened up the gaze, if you will, and ink can just go in and completely saturate that sponge. Believe it or not, I don't have them here to show you, but I'll just describe it to you. You saw all these prints that I just showed you. Well, I didn't show you the standard images that I also printed. So they are like 9 by 12. Okay, they're fairly good medium size. None of the OEM cartridges, okay, show any ink level drop from the liquid stage, okay, or reservoir. It only used ink from the sponge. I mean, very little. It just dropped a tiny amount, okay? So it's using all of the ink from the sponge first, and when it reaches a certain deficit, that's when ink begins to flow in from the reservoir. That's the only time that it is replenished. And it only comes in enough to replenish it to a proper level of saturation. When you remove the plug, then you kind of oversaturate the sponge. And that's really bad, actually, because when the sponge is oversaturated, nothing is going to come out of the liquid chamber. It's going to have to suck out all that ink out of the sponge until it reaches a certain level. The hydraulics kick in, and liquid can then flow inside. It's as simple as that. But something that we had to discover after years and years of screwing around with these modifications and how to do this, how to do that, until we finally got it right. Somebody wanted to print on vinyl, and they bought some decal type vinyl that is inkjet printable, and they put it on their Pro 100, and it was dismal. Oh, horrible. All they got instead of a nice image was a bunch of little bubbles of ink. Okay. They didn't realize that decal type vinyl material, inkjet printable, is meant to be used on a solvent ink printer. When you see decals on the side of a truck, a car advertisement, those are done with a solvent ink printer. Otherwise, it would just fade within a week. It's outside. So also the solvent ink is just that, solvent. It's not water-based. So this plastic type material melts immediately with that solvent ink, okay? And it sort of like encapsulates itself in it. Water-based is like water on top of an oily surface. You're just going to get droplets of ink. So you need to find a specific type of vinyl material that is compatible with water-based inks. It may be coated with a special coating, and I think I got some of that. I got it from Breathing Colors, and I'm going to go ahead and test it sometime. I keep saying that I'm going to do this, but I got to get done with the project that I'm working on, the P800, because it is a roll, and I want to install it there and then print on it with that printer. So that's the only way you're going to be able to print on vinyl, that type of vinyl, on a inkjet printer that doesn't use a solvent type ink. And only Epsons can use that, by the way, so not Canon. All righty, I think that was it for the topics that I have, which are going to be actually videos. I'm working on those as I speak. So we're going to go ahead and close that. We're going to enlarge this to the max. Whoa, I just got really, really big here. Not where you can see, but where I, on my screen. Okay. Let's see. So we have Michael Martinez. I'll try to recreate them as ICC-B2. Yeah, we're talking about the version, color version. Interesting, the Mac Color Sync utility doesn't recognize them either, at least when it comes to viewing the 3D color profile map. Yeah, on that utility, you can actually look at your profile as a 3D gamut map, if you will. It shows you how far out into the gamut bubble it extends. What colors does it cover? What intensity of colors does it cover? That's one way to compare two profiles, by the way. You can superimpose them on top of each other, and it will give you a difference. Like this profile extends into this region of color more than the other one does. Then it kind of provides you with what they call a complete gamut volume as a number, basically. So the bigger the number, the wider the volume is. That means that the wider the so-called sphere of color it can cover, or universe of color, whatever you want to call it. I think V4 will not allow you to do that for you guys that are interested in doing this sort of thing. Yeah, so if you know, like he said right here, look, there's no real compelling reason to use V4 ICC profiles, and they are not universally supported either. So stick with V2 for the time being. Yeah. That's why I set my software to only produce V2 profiles. That's what I'm selling to people. I got a bunch of files upstairs that I need to scan tomorrow for another customer. And so far, so good. Everybody loves them. Everybody loves them. So keep that in mind. If you do not have the equipment, you can buy profiles from me. I have a link on my descriptions of all the videos. Crypto Time Lord has to split at 5:41 our time. That was quite a while ago. Let's see. Richard says, I had to step away. Do you have any questions about the Pro 1000 chips I purchased? As mentioned, they've arrived, yet I haven't installed them. Yeah, I mean, I really just want to know when it comes time for you to bring them into play, if you will. Will they work the next time you need to reset them? Because they will work the first time. No doubt about that in my mind. Michael Martinez to Jeff Thompson, Jose Rodriguez just created it with version 2 and it's a go. See? That's all you have to do. Yeah, and look at this. You see that? Apparently the current Lightroom does not recognize version 4. Do you mean Lightroom 2020, the newest one? Are you a subscriber like I am? Yeah, I only use version 2. There really is no advantage. I mean, as far as performance or features. Martin has to leave. Agent X, I'm looking for assist. I'm looking for assist for my Epson stylus Photo 2400 that works well and does not leak ink into the printer. Any suggestion? Well, try one of the big resellers. Okay, they will have good working units. Don't fall for buying stuff on eBay from unknown sources. That's all I can tell you. And it's sys units are constantly under lateral forces because of that set of belts that it uses, that ink lines. So they could come off and not be sealing as well, and you may have leaks. I don't use them anymore for that very reason. I mean, they're very convenient and they work when they work. Harold Goldberg, where you been, brother? Man, glad to have you here. A little late than ever. We're going to be off in about another half hour, man. So catch up. Catch up. Oh, man, I've been enjoying myself staying home. I'm taking care of myself, getting things done that I need done, and playing around and watching a lot of TV with my wife. We go on rides. We leave the windows closed. Air conditioner now is on because it's getting kind of warm. So again, no worries. The only time I do have to go out and contact people is every Tuesday and Thursday when I go to my physical therapy and get my back worked on and my knees. Other than that, maybe I'll hit the Giant that's right up the street from the PT clinic and buy some groceries. Can't buy food. All of these shops, all of these restaurants are not really serving them. My favorite one is now closed for the duration. So what I remember you told in the past was to fill one which is close to empty. What are we talking about? Wait a minute, right here. My light gray OEM, I think you meant OEM Pro 100. It's about to finish. I had cartridge ready for precision colors. Should I replace that one or yeah, all of them? If you have them all done, all of them. If not, just one at a time. No problem at all. Why are you saying boo? Amber, Copenhagen, 50 plus prints done tonight. Wow. Holy cow. That's amazing. You just beat me. RD Nichilo. Hi, Jose. My Pro 1000 is randomly shutting down in the middle of a print. Whoa. Oh. I don't know about that one, man. You mean like powering off completely? Have you checked your plug? Make sure it's not disconnecting. I just can't see. There's no like overload problems with these printers that I know of. Check your outlet, check your wires, check the back connection to the printer. Wow, I would not even begin to know what would cause that. That is not good. Not good at all. I wish I could help you, but I have, it's something I haven't experienced. So why is this flashing at me? Okay. All right. So let's see what else we got here. You guys got any more questions? Go ahead and ask. We have a little bit of time left before we have to say goodbye. Take the chance right now, folks, to ask me. Rick Johnson, he was here. Yeah, that's the man you got to catch. Rick Johnson. He's the man with the plan for all of your needs for your Pro 100 cartridge needs, in other words. Let me go ahead and look up the link to his store so I can give it to you guys. I want to keep Rick as busy as possible. Let me get just any link here. Oh, by the way, you know what I'm going to show you guys? So hold on a second. Let me get the information I originally said I was going to get here. I need to look at one of my videos and just grab the link to the cartridges. Here we go. Copy and paste. Here we go. All right, so that is the link to our friend Rick Johnson's store. He just got sold out today. You got to get busy, man, and scam up some more empties so you can continue helping people out. Okay, here is. I can turn it back on with the power button. I have to unplug it, let it sit for a bit. Then, wow, that sounds like some kind of overheating or something. I don't know. What would cause that? You're calling Canon tomorrow. Gee whiz. That is not good. Cal Johnson has my Ethernet connected printer loses signal after a few days, but I don't know. No, I think this is a power problem. This is not just that, you're printing using Ethernet and the data stops being sent to the printer. No, I think it's just cutting out on him. That's not good at all. Yeah. Banding picture with sky and sea, so a lot of blue, vertical lines on landscape, so horizontal on the portrait. So you need to tell me, does the banding match the direction of travel of the printhead? That's what I need to know, okay? If you get banding on the sky or anything with blue, that is normal almost in some cases. Let me tell you, I don't know why it does that. Is your nozzle check perfect? Okay, have you done a head alignment? Okay, that's the first things you need to do to eliminate mechanical cost banding. Okay, and if you still get a bit of banding on a blue sky, I explained that on my last video. So take a look at that because I don't want to bore you guys to death here again for another half hour. It will happen on blue, and it could be caused by all sorts of different factors that are image related and not necessarily related to the printer. So when you say horizontal or vertical, that has nothing to do. I don't care about the direction or the orientation. Just tell me if the banding matches the direction of the printhead. Okay, if that is the case, then it's caused by some mechanical reason on the printhead. Okay, otherwise, there's no other reason for it. What you said? No. What do you mean no? It's not in the direction of the printhead. So, in other words, what you're saying is paper is always fed in this orientation. The printhead goes back and forth. So in this case, if I look at the image this way, it would look like horizontal to me. You see, that's what I'm asking. Parallel to the printhead. Okay, then it's caused by it's a mechanical cost. You need to check your nozzle check, run a printhead alignment. Okay, and when you do that, use not plain paper, use a cheaper photo paper, because the sensors that read the results that you print during that head alignment need to determine exactly what's going on. And regular paper kind of blots the ink away and it blurs the results. The sensor can't tell what the hell is going on. You need to print it on a good paper so you get a nice sharp set of these bands and patches that it prints during the head alignment. So banding matches the direction of the print. Yeah, just do that. What I just told you. Nozzle check first. Make sure the nozzles are all firing. Then run a printhead alignment. It's located inside your maintenance tab of your driver. Okay. Use a glossy paper if you have some. That's it. That'll take care of it. If it doesn't take care of it, then it's something else, something mechanical that your printer simply has, and it needs to be addressed. Are you happy? Oh, boy. Yeah. Have you used the filters? Yes, I haven't used them for shooting images, though, yet. I have the bird right here. It was ready to go today, but I didn't get a chance to go outside. So that little bird has produced. I don't need this big one here. This is straight down. Oh man, this is too much shine. Straight down, looking down at a gorgeous little tree that's now flowering and ready to sprout some leaves on it. This is his front yard. This is very low afternoon sunlight, and again, very yellow and warm sun. And these are 13 by 19s. But I have not used filters on them yet. This is that same tree that we saw from above, but close up. Most of the time I'm shooting video, I really have to start shooting some more stills. So this is a shot of the property where my daughter lives. This is their house. Again, humongous, rather large, extreme. Let me go ahead and close this comment. There you go. From above, a slightly higher angle shot. Gosh, I'm trying to get rid of these reflections. Then this is a lower angle shot. I did this on a different day, I believe. Yeah. And you can see the difference in angle. So this is, completely suitable for nice aerial photography. This is a larger print, narrower border, the higher angle one. So it does a really nice job. That 21 megapixel sensor really does a tremendous job. I got to now shoot some pictures with the neutral density filters on. But when you do that, you really need to have the highest shutter speed possible. So in a way, because you use neutral density filters for other purposes, but for photography, I probably would not consider doing that unless you're using maybe a polarizing filter. That would be even better, but not necessarily a neutral density filter. Okay, let's deal with this problem. Question 3, my printhead I ever did, I turned off, prevent paper abrasion. I heard some scratches, paper, oh, okay. Paper turned out with edges, and the partition was maybe, on the portion, was maybe 1 milliliter misaligned. Yeah, so you probably had a very thick paper. Yeah, 300 gram luster, that's relatively thick. So yeah, this is when prevent abrasion comes in and helps. It's only a 3-week-old printer. What printer is it again? I hate to ask over and over, but I don't want to go back and search again. Is it a Pro 100, Pro 10? What is it, a Canon printer? If it uses prevent print abrasion, then it is a Canon printer. But what model was it? You might want to, do you see this only on certain images? Or just everything? Everything you print has that problem? I would suggest printing the standard image. Did you see where I had that site originally? Go back to that link that I provide you and get that image and print it, because that's your standard for everything. And that's how you basically detect if the printer has any kind of color problems or anything like that. So I would suggest printing on a thinner paper and see if you get the same results, the same problems that you're seeing. It might be something just specific to that paper. Okay, it happens. I know that all photo papers that are sold should work with all printers, but that's not true. That's not the truth. They will work best with a certain models, certain family, and not necessarily as great with others. Then there'll be other papers that are the opposite. Yeah, it's not a perfect world out there. You have to find, this is why I always tell people, you have to find a paper that just clicks. It just clicks. Pro 10 should have no problem with the Pro 10. I printed this with the Pro 10. This is 300 weight. This is 300 gram right here on the Pro 10. I did not set paper abrasion either. Okay. But I know that my nozzle check is perfect and my head alignment is perfect. You need to run that. Stop wasting time. Do not waste any more time messing around with trying to, if that problem exists because the print head needs to be aligned, you're not going to get rid of it any other way. Okay. Except just run those utilities. Okay. Nozzle check is perfect. Head alignment, and use a good paper. You only need, I believe, only one sheet anyway. So, okay. He says, I only saw parallel banding on the blue sky image, not any other image that's print. Then that's something you're probably going to have to accept. I told people over and over that is the biggest mystery ever. Okay. The biggest mystery ever. I have not been able to figure out why that happens. Okay. If it doesn't happen in any other color, sorry. That's just the way it is. It is an odd, weird mystery that should be able to be fixed, but it just doesn't. Okay. It just happens. I'm sorry. I know that's not what you want to hear, but I said this in my video concerning banding just recently. That is one of those weird situations where no one has been able to figure it out. And it doesn't even, you don't see it on your image at all, but your printer, for some odd reason, doesn't like printing certain shades of blue. It's like skies, especially when you're graduating. You have a graduated sky from a darker to a lighter. I don't know why. All right, let's see what Richard has to say here. Can you share links for the 100 syringes and 2 Luer style tips used to extract ink? Okay, you can get those from Precision Colors. Yeah, I don't sell them because I don't want to compete with him. So for the for the 700 ml cartridges, it takes, I want to use your affiliate links. They're in the descriptions of all my videos. Okay. And to remove ink from those cartridges, you can do it. You can get a liter bottle, drill a hole, and pour it out. Okay. You can do it that easy if you want to do it that drastically on the spot. If not, you need 2 needles and 1 syringe to be able to extract the ink surgically, if you will, out of the cartridge. I can maybe do a video doing that someday. I'm going to check to see what ink I need to actually top off, and I will demonstrate it live on video, that is. I did run a nozzle check alignment when I installed the printer on the same 300 gram luster paper. Well, what can I say? If you, let me tell you, print some other image, okay? And if you detect any sign of banding, then it's mechanical. But if it doesn't show up at all, then it's due to color, blue, whatever the reason is. I cannot help you. If I could, believe me, I would love to help you. I would do it. But I don't know the reason behind that problem. Sorry. That's all I can tell you. I wish I could tell you more, but I just cannot. All right, let me show you guys something cute. So my grandson, he's been cooped up at home. So, his parents set him up with uh, this virtual learning system for school and all of this stuff. But everybody's having to have to be done, the last few days. They've been having to do this the last few days. So I'm going to go ahead and post this. Let me make sure that I don't have it playing. So I provided him with a little action camera. Like a knockoff GoPro. Nothing special. And I have a ton of accessories that I use for various purposes. I can attach a camera to any window or whatever, to the inside of my windshield, all of that sort of thing. And I can also attach them to his bicycle handle. That's what he wanted. He said, "Grandpa, can I get a helmet cam?" And I said, "Sure, I can turn you onto that." So I took the camera that I'm going to give him over this weekend to his house, because again, like you guys may know, we had dinner over there, and went outside, took a walk in the woods, and I said, "Well, here." So I provided him with the camera with a little handle for him to hold, and he's just shaking all over the place. But you're gonna see his first production in a minute. Let me finish up with. We'll do that as a farewell thing to say goodbye with. Got about 8 more minutes here. Listen, no problem at all. You can hog all the airtime you want. We're here to help you out if we are able. And I apologize for not being able to help you out. But it just happens. It happens to me too, occasionally. It just depends on the image, depends on what particular shade of blue or lavender or whatever the sky color it happens to be. And it just causes that effect. I don't know why. One thing I suggest is, I hope you're printing at the highest quality. That will tend to diminish any of these types of problems. Happens on Epson printers also, by the way. Why would you not use prevent printer abrasion all the time? If you're asking me, it's because then you cannot just print and walk away, because it'll wait for you to approve the next step. And if I don't need to use it, I won't use it. Yeah, and it also increases the gap, which increases the space that the droplets have to travel. Okay, what it's doing is making sure that the printhead bottom, here we go, hang on a second, it's making sure that this surface right here is at the correct distance from the surface of the paper. Now, think of this. If you have a super smooth, glass smooth surface, like a really, really good quality glossy paper, then it's flat. And so unless there's a bubble, in other words, the paper possibly is curved up a little bit, or the edges are curled up, you may get struck by that nozzle plate. And if you rub against those nozzles, you're going to smear ink over that surface. So you need to have that perfect gap. When you choose prevent abrasion, it's extending the distance. And so what it's doing is assuming that if I extend the distance between the printhead and the surface of the paper, maybe I'll miss that little corner that's sticking up a little bit too high. But the problem also comes with papers that have a very, very coarse surface. Like some of the watercolor papers, they have a very, very coarse surface, really rough. And that may, peaks and valleys, okay, that may actually rub. And so that, okay, you can use that for that, but not if I'm printing on a smooth paper like the one I just showed you. There's really no need, because that extra gap causes the distance to increase, and the spray of droplets will be spread out a little bit more. you will not get that optimum sharpness, if you will. It's probably indistinguishable, but it's there. So if you don't need it, you don't need to use it. You shouldn't use it. Sometimes I set mine up and I leave it, and I'm printing. Don't tell anybody I'm printing documents with my Pro 10 or whatever. It's my go-to printer at this point. So, but you don't have to use it constantly. Is what I'm trying to say. So, what else we got here? I had to use PPA for some very lightweight papers on. Yeah, if it curls, if it buckles, especially if it's really thin, and the amount of ink laid down to be able to attain certain densities is a lot. It wets the paper, it causes it to buckle, and it scratches it. The head is literally scratching against it. I had a case where I was printing with a particular paper that's now not sold any longer, but it was great, but not on the Pro 1000 or the P800. No, it didn't work. The amount of ink laid down for that particular paper choice was too high, and it was causing buckling only if you printed on larger sheets. So one thing that you could do, here's one little trick that you can do in the driver for your Canon printers. There's something called quiet mode. Yeah. And you think it's so that it doesn't wake up the baby in the next room. Quiet mode is this. It actually prints slower, and then it pauses, and it prints again on the opposite trip back, and it pauses, and it waits a little bit, and then it advances the paper. This allows the paper to dry a little bit more and may reduce the effects of buckling due to a higher than normal level of ink density that has to be laid down on specific paper types. That's all controlled by the paper choice that you choose. Let's see, one other thing that it does. You got to remember now. It allows the Canon thermal printhead. This is even more important. Yeah. If for any reason you do this, this is the reason. Because you're printing slower, you're generating less heat. And less heat means longer life. If that doesn't sell you, nothing else will. The negative aspects, hey, don't be in such a hurry, okay? It takes a longer time to print. So what? I got all day. No problem. If I'm going to extend the life of my printhead and all it's going to cost me is a few extra minutes, I'll jump on that. All right. Here's one last one from Cindy. Red River 32 pound. Yeah, a premium matte. I know which paper that is, and I don't see why it would cause any problems unless it's extremely curly. Anyway, okay. So let's go ahead and share this screen. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys just watch this amazing video production by my grandson, Nathan Francis Mooney. And again, my wife and I and him and his mommy went for a little walk. Our daughter went for a little walk in the woods. He had control of the camera, except for a couple of shots where I actually shot him doing some shenanigans. And that's it. We'll see how it comes out. And it's already up on my channel. And I hope you enjoy it. All righty, let's go ahead and switch over. And press the play button. Make sure that I got some audio going here. Maybe I don't. Okay, there's always something wrong going on. Yeah, I have absolutely no audio. Let me start again, folks. Cut. Start again from fresh. We'll actually have some audio here. There we go. Now we can play. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Look at that camera work. They have 16 acres of land.
No, you better not.
There was an abandoned deer stand. He always knew where it was.
All right, come on down. Yeah, come on down.
He's so excited because he hasn't seen us for 3 weeks.
All the way to the top. Yeah. You don't want to go up that high. Okay, the battery's almost.
This is what he calls his thinking rock. So he figured it's sitting or thinking. So sit, think, rock. Yeah, he's something else.
Hi.
I tried. I'm not strong enough. It was almost about to break, but I thought I was going to fall on my face, maybe. So in order not to embarrass myself in the camera, I decided not to.
And cut.
And cut. Okay, we're back. I almost cut myself off. All righty, so if no one else has any questions, I will go ahead and say goodbye. All right. Your videos on, wait a minute, there's one more question here. We won't let everybody go without getting their questions answered, I hope. Your videos on should you buy a printer scared me. I bought a color right monitor calibrator for my iMac. Big change. I am printing for my Epson Workforce printer, and my pictures are very sad. Well, the Epson Workforce is not really a photo printer. Okay, it's really made for documents. The one that I have is an older, even more primitive printer. It's a Workforce 1100. It just uses yellow, magenta, cyan, and black. That's it. Just 4 cartridges. Actually, 2 black cartridges, but it's still 4 color, and it's not, it's not the greatest thing. So, and just because you calibrated your monitor, that just brings your monitor to a standard, so you can then trust your edits. But your printer will not be able to translate that now perfect edit into something that matches. So it's a case of having to have ICC profiles, and I don't even know if the Workforce series allows you to print in that manner. In other words, can you turn off color management and then use an ICC profile for that printer? I don't think no one makes any ICC profiles for any Workforce printer, unfortunately. So you have to kind of use the driver by itself, unless you want someone else to make you some custom profiles. And again, those have to be printed just exactly the correct way. Otherwise, it will not really do much good. All right. I hope that is about it, I guess. Thinking rock is beautiful. Yeah, the thinking, he used to call it the thinking rock because we would go on these huge walks. Again, like I said, there's a ton of land back there, and come around in a circle and end up by those rocks, which face the other property next to us. And we would sit there and think. We'd be completely tired, and we sit there and just do a little contemplating. Yeah, me and my boy. So we did that since he was, 4 and 5 years old. So he called it the thinking rock, but now everybody was sitting on it. So he thought, hey, wait a minute, it could be called the sit think rock, something like that. So he came up with that himself. And then he feels so proud of it too. That's the great thing. So you use the display profile. Well, that's not a profile for printing photos. That's a profile for your display. Okay, simple as that. A lot of people make that mistake. Don't worry. That's it. That's not the profile you use for printing. You need a profile for the paper you are printing on for that printer as well. Okay, good luck. It may not exist. You may just have to use the driver and just use a paper choice, for example, luster or glossy, and then cross your fingers that it works. But the profile for the display, it's just for the display. It's not for printing. Should you let the printer manage colors in Photoshop? Sure. That will give you reasonably good results. You just have to match the paper type. So if it's a matte paper that you're using, choose one of the matte choices in the driver. If it's a glossy paper, choose one of the glossy choices in the driver, and so on. I'm going to get a Canon Pro 10 or Pro 100. Okay, which one is it going to be? The Pro 100 is 8 colors, dye ink, great for glossy, can be easily refilled, but you need to modify your cartridges, which, it's a mechanical process, or use the link to Rick Johnson's store on eBay and buy the pre-modified cartridges. If you're in the United States, just buy your supplies from precisioncolors.com, and they will provide you with everything you need, including the resetter. The results are amazing, okay? Just simply using the driver. If you just use Canon paper, you can just use the driver, okay? No need to be messing around with custom ICC profiles or anything, even remotely, related to color management. That is so confusing for many. Just let the printer control color. You set the printer. If you're using a Windows machine, you're going to click on a little box on the driver. Let me see if I can load this up. I need to really show you guys this. It used to be a lot easier before, but type it correctly, Jose. There you go. Good job. Good boy. Okay. With the new pup that we have at Nathan's house, we've been saying good boy a lot lately. All right. So what am I getting here? We're getting the Pro 10. Okay. I'm going to move this over. I'm going to take a little farewell. We'll see how this looks when I switch over to screen share. All right. So this is the driver on Windows. So what you will do is you're going to click on this box right here. Click matching, and then set it to ICM or driver matching. If it's already set at one of those two settings, not none if you're going to use an ICC profile, but driver matching or ICM. So do that again, driver matching or ICM. And so that's it. That's all you have to do. Defaults. If you don't see it, if you're confused, just click on defaults. And that is all you have to do. Then you're going to choose your paper type here in this photo papers. Okay, none of the other choices. And then you're going to pick a paper that applies. If you're using Canon papers, then it will likely be listed there. So, for example, we can choose Pro Luster, like I have chosen, higher quality, and apply, and okay. And so now that driver will be set at those settings from now on constantly, okay? And so that's all you have to do. And of course, over here, if you want to, you can click on photo printing as well and match that. That's all you got to do. And that will give you a setting that will work on the Pro 100 using the, oh, you're on a Mac. Oh boy. Okay, that's going to be different. See, that's a whole new ball of wax. And I hope you were here earlier. It may be related to that. You know, you let the driver control color. In other words, just let the driver control color in the Mac. If you, whatever you're using to edit, tell the print module that editing software uses to let the driver control color. Go to your driver and just pick the ICC Pro. No, forget it. I'm sorry. Pick the paper that you are printing on. Okay. And again, if you're going to use an Epson printer, then basically, why am I showing you this? Oh, because you're going to get a Pro 10 or Pro 100. Sorry. If you're just still printing on your Epson printer, then having Epson paper would be the best thing, because those papers are sort of matched to each printer family. So they work best. In other words, the color matching will be as close as it's going to get. So, all right. I think that was about all we had, right? Let me see. So if that is everything, and I think it might be, we just went a little bit over 3 hours. We're going to go ahead and say goodbye. Thank you so much for hanging with me today. Again, I know you guys maybe have better things to do, but I hope that we were helpful. I hope that my friend was able to help you guys. Jeff, again, he's going to prepare a list of things that I'm going to go ahead and post on my Facebook group for you Mac users that choose to get into serious color photo printing. Okay, let's see. Cosmic. Oh, you're still here with us. All right. Let me go ahead and put this comment up. I've reprinted the picture with the banding. This time, the correct driver for Mac. What? And one colors are now correct. They were totally different before, and no more banding. I don't know what you were doing, man. All right. Well, I'm glad. Always nice to hear a success story. Let's see what else. I did cause a small scratch in the corner. It is what's finishing up. So I will redo the head alignment and try. Set the paper abrasion, a print abrasion setting, and that may take care of it. Just make sure your paper is nice and flat. That's the most important thing to do before you press that print button. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.